It's a researcher that did functional MRIs on the hearts of marathoners that have done 100 marathons, so they're in the 100 club.
Wow.
And he said they had the equivalent of 3 heart attacks as far as heart damage. Yeah, it's like, all right, well.
And everyone acts like it's like
The healthy
this is
thing
the best thing you could be doing.
No, 3 heart attacks.
I hate cardio so much.
But how do they? So they have that much damage, but they're not having the heart attacks themselves.
Right, they're having the damage that a heart attack would create.
give
It's
you.
not like they're like, oh, you know.
But are they having actual heart problems or?
Yeah, so then later in life, yeah, then they end up with the consequences of what 3 heart attacks would be like.
Wow.
Decreased cardiac function, scar tissue in the heart, all that kind of stuff. Yep.
All right. I just told Flish
So-
like we're gonna start swimming in the morning. I used to. You remember Ross Barefoot?
Oh, yeah.
Before he got like Trump fever and whatever, we were tight and we would go swimming like 3-4 times a week in the morning at CMU.
Really? Wow.
It was awesome.
Yeah, that's a great pool.
But I haven't now, for years.
Yeah. I like swimming. Using a lot of muscle groups, but it's
Yeah.
low impact on your joints.
Yeah. Because I'm all about the low impact stuff these days. Like I've messed up my knees and
I
my back's coming. I can
real
tell.
bad joint stuff with my arms, so like any kind of high impact stuff.
Swimming's I love swimming.
Swimming is good. It is very tiring though. You can definitely feel it.
Oh yeah.
But
There's more calories doing that than I think just about any other activity.
But it also, like you said, with jogging, it doesn't feel like you're jumping and then, all 200 pounds of you landing on your ankle. It's like, yuck.
Oh, that sounds brilliant.
Is this episode 18?
If it's 18, sounds right, because I think we said 17 last time.
We've been congratulations to this guy here.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Number 7 is here. Everyone's healthy.
Yep.
All's good. So we've been kind of scrambling to figure out how to do another one of these. Thought about going to a local place, Scotland Yard, that we mentioned before.
We'll make it happen.
We'll get there.
Yeah, they don't open till later. Like during the week, they open at 4 and then stay open till like 12 a.m.
Really? Yeah, I'd be eager to go just to see what it looks like and how busy it is, Maybe good.
It's a new one. I've not seen in there before. It's
M81.
I just got a couple because I wasn't sure if they're going to be good or not. But it's Maduro to the core. It says so. I think it's like aged Maduro all the way through. I don't know.
I just wasted all your cigars. Thank you. All of
Did you want to try this new one?
Well, we can light ours up. Let you know.
Did you get a third one?
Because you're doing this one. Okay. I was trying to grab the one.
It smells good. Sometimes you get such a creature of habit that you find something you like.
Yeah, just stick to it.
Especially when you find something that you really like, then you're less inclined to be like, what are the odds I'm going to find something this good? Just testing out the waters again.
I used to highly venerate or something the exploring and trying new things. And I guess I still do theoretically, but I found that I very much like the habit thing, and I have no shame about it anymore.
We go to restaurants and I always get the same thing.
There's maybe the thing is you don't want to when you're young, you don't want to be afraid of what's new because that really limits you. But it's okay to figure out what you like and just kind of stick with it, right?
Yeah. There's a time for adventure, and then there's a time for, comfort, leisure.
I was, please, course correct if you have an agenda. Or you're just making me think. I was listening to this thing. I realized my biggest problem in life as a human, let alone businessman or whatever, is dispersion. And watching a YouTube on it, right? And this guy was describing. I was like, oh yeah, it's me. Where you have multiple interests. You even have multiple talents and multiple interests. So of course I should do these. And they're like, but you over the years you're kind of I'm not moving forward on this or that or what's going on. And it's you really need to just pick something and to be truly successful at it, put 10 times what you expect you're going to be in it.
Okay, Malcolm Gladwell.
I know, huh? But, and it's not like I never heard that before. For some reason, that really hit me this time, where it's I do tend to spread myself a little too thin for. And then you're how come I haven't accomplished XYZ yet? And it's because you're trying to, make that kind of momentum in 5 different fronts. It's
We were just talking about that on this last one.
You were?
Yeah, the one, he wasn't, it was just the 3 of us again. Because Greg and I were talking about how we each have this tendency to pour ourselves into a topic until we become kind of intermediate, close to advanced, and then once we hit that wall of it's like with chess, once you reach a certain elo, you have to put in exponentially way more work to get better at the game. And as soon as we hit that wall, we're I'm comfortable with what I've learned, I'm going to move on to something else that piques my interest.
Yeah, and I think this guy was describing it of exploiting versus exploring. And I don't know if that's a problem, but maybe it's only a problem if you're not hitting what you want. If you want to be a grandmaster at chess, and you keep diverting off to probably a problem.
Yeah.
If that's not your aspiration.
Right. I think that's the thing.
You're I'm okay being mediocre at chess. I don't want to be completely ignorant, but
right.
doesn't mean that much to me.
With my career stuff, I enjoy it as a hobby, but also I have a financial incentive. So I really like to refine that and learn more and get better at what I do. But when it comes to chess, I'm not gonna seek to be Magnus Carlsen or anything. So why do I need to slave over this game and not love it anymore?
Yeah.
So
I don't know. And they were even saying you eventually will get bored, but you have to push through it. Basically, it's pick a boat and drive to the island on that boat. But
it does kind of depend on what the thing is and what you value adds to your life.
Yeah. I just think that sometimes with my my business, which I have a pretty good incentive to be good at it, but there are aspects where I'm I need to get good at this aspect. And I just haven't because I took every excuse to work on something else. I'm I'm still at this point in my business. And if you just sucked it up and did it.
Yeah. Have you ever used a business coach?
I did when I first came back to Surtec. I hired a guy named Bob. What the heck's his last name? Anyway, he's known around town. You probably know him, but he's good. He was focused on sales for me. He's in his 60s, so he had experience, but his experience is all in the Christian publishing world.
Interesting.
So sometimes, looking back, I'm well, maybe I need someone that with a little more overlap in what I do or something. Although, the principles are perfect. But just some of the nuance of oh, well, we were trying to track things that way. That would make sense if you're selling if you're trying to sell 1 million copies of something that costs $5 to make, instead of, 20 of something that costs $100,000 to make,
Right.
So that, but and I could see where I'd want to go back to that when I feel like I can justify it. 'Cause they're not cheap.
No. I used Southwest Consulting. They're about $500 a month, which, I mean, we've spent a lot more than that on marketing and different stuff, so it's like, probably make it happen. But you kind of have to be in the mindset, too, to have someone challenge you and give you new ideas, because then it's going to put a lot more work on your plate.
That was one of the, I had IDS, International blah, blah, blah. They're like consulting, and they come in for like a set amount of time, and they just like real quick. But one of my disappointments was, you try to tell them, like, this is where I'm struggling. They're like, oh, sweet. And their sales guy brings another guy in, and they're doing that over and over. And then they come in and they act like, I think they probably work with a lot of people that have no idea what they're doing. And you're like, I really just want to tighten up. It's like you're a pro athlete or something.
Yep.
And you're like, I want to hire another coach because I really want to tighten up this spot in my game. And they come in and they're like, all right, so you want to make your high school team. This is what you need to do. And you're like, that's not where we're at.
Right.
I need help here.
Yep.
And they're like, we're going to teach you how to make a budget. And you're like, oh, man. So you spend like a lot of time getting through that.
Yep.
And so there were a lot of moments of like, okay, you're going to need to build, we're going to do a thing like this.
Yep.
And I dig into my hard drive and I'm like, oh, like this.
Yeah.
I built this 2 years ago. Oh, and then they kind of have this like disappointment, like we were going to really shock and awe you.
Yeah.
Too, so you can
It's like, that's great. We're on the same page. I want help with, this variable.
Yeah.
I was in the bathroom. You guys are trying to sing songs.
I heard it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's the speaker.
I've had similar experiences.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a time and a place for a coach like that that can kind of challenge you a little bit, or maybe see stuff that that you can't see in your blind spot. But like you said, sometimes they're just hoping to impress you with like their whatever.
I don't know why it's showing up.
XYZ things that they can do. And then, well, I've already looked at that, and we tried some of that. And
Yeah. I'm getting more bang for my buck out of these types of scenarios. Finding men, or sometimes women or something, but like that are at least either your age or at least your age in the whatever game you're trying to play, or older, and spending time with them and picking their brain and seeing how they do stuff.
Yeah.
I do have a lot of that organic stuff.
That's good.
I think the organic stuff is super valuable.
Yeah, like that's why you're doing this, right? I mean,
Right. It's like you can only impart so much like raw knowledge to somebody, and it's really hard to impart wisdom. And I think a lot of coaches or teachers attempt to do that, and it doesn't always stick.
It's harder than it looks. Like, I'm now exploring that end of it, like coaching basketball, which is something that I devoted like from basically 12 to 20 hardcore. Well, no, 12 to 18. So not a long time, but in those years, like that's all I wanted to do. And loved it, and then kind of did other stuff. But now I'm teaching like 10-year-olds. It's weird. Because they don't have your perspective.
Right.
They don't have anything.
It's hard to put yourself in their shoes, because like, what was it like being 10?
Yeah, because you're like, what are you, an idiot? Just do it this way. But then, I don't know. And I'm getting weird thoughts about sports anyway, so I have to write them down. Try to book all the big sports out.
Wasn't there a book by a basketball coach you guys were talking about at one point?
best college football coach. What's his name?
No, he's
College basketball.
like football or basketball. What are you?
It was basketball.
I like basketball.
What you guys talked about? I think.
What is his name?
Who is the winning coach? K or Bobby Knight or?
And that, I say that 10 years ago, there could be someone else that's taking that title. Yeah, he wrote a book. Or probably a couple books.
Was it a coach?
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of his philosophy was like, we're a team, but I need every individual player to play their best. And let's not even really pay attention to the scoreboard. Let's just do a really good job. And if we do a really good job, just really, strive for excellence every game, we're going to win. The result will be there. And yeah, ended up winning
A bunch of titles and stuff. Well, that's the thing. Like, I've been watching some guys, some NBA coaches on YouTube talking, and it's kind of been my approach to this thing anyway. But you can see like the different where they're complaining where they're like, by the time we get these kids to the pro level, they're great. They can jump high and fat. I mean, they're world class athletes and all this. I mean, they're getting the NBA, so they're good. They're not bad, but at the end of the day, we're seeing this generational shift of like, they don't understand the fundamentals of this game that they are professionals at now. And they're saying there's a lot of them are older and teaching their kids and stuff now, and they're like, it's at the little kid level of these coaches that are teaching kids that are 10, 12 years old. They just want to win.
Yeah.
So they're just doing what it takes to win, and they're skipping teaching these individuals. So yeah, they're winning, and they're in college, and they don't know how to play this game at like the fundamental level, and they're talking about being frustrated with it.
Interesting.
I was talking about another coach that we ran into. We played, and then after the game, we had a chance to talk, and because I wasn't teaching my kids to do zone or all this basketball crap, right? But stuff, because they're not cheats, but it's like if you can play man to man really, really good, you can play a zone. Mm-hmm. If you play it zone and you have to play man to man, you might not know how to do it.
Yeah.
And like these kids are 10, and I was like, half of them don't have the upper body strength to even hit the rim from the free throw line.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we're gonna shoot. I'm Steph Curry. I'm gonna shoot 3-point. I was like, forget all that crap.
Yeah.
How high is the hoop?
We're playing at 10 feet.
Okay.
So regulation, which I think is inappropriate for these kids because, like I said, half of them, it's just not there. Forget form or none of this stuff. Like they can't do it.
Probably have a few kids that are a little bit more developed.
And some are
physically,
developed, and so it's this weird mix.
But then others that aren't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So even if it was 9 feet or something, but whatever, that's what we're doing.
But then there's theories on, well, then they're developing muscle memory for, a foot lower. And
true, because I think about that. So who knows? Like,
and how many of those are gonna like even play in high school or college or?
Yeah, like it is what it is, and we have to. But they're all jumping out of the league where like they weren't allowed to steal, they weren't allowed to do all these things, and now you can do all that, which I think's good. But
how often are they scoring at 10 feet?
So like our games are like in the 20s.
Yeah.
So
it's something.
That's and at 2 points per, that's like 10 field goals per team.
Yep.
So it's not a lot, but it feels like a lot when you're like in it, Mm-hmm. When you think about pros, they're like in the hundreds. That's like 50 scores per team, and it's different. But what the heck was my point? Should have lost it. Oh, I'm really like, you want to play this. Of course, it's more fun to win. And I don't tell the kids this, but in my like heart, or some of the parents, I was like, I don't care if we win a game, because they say they want to learn how to do this thing.
Yeah.
And at 10, like, who cares? Like, you're gonna tell your grandkids, oh, I won this game when I was 10. Like, no one cares. But if you want to know how to do this,
Yeah.
so that you could play it in high school or at a higher level, like we're gonna learn how to do the fundamentals of this game.
Probably means more to them if they can like them themselves individually like score than winning a full game. You know, it's like, hey, I got the ball in.
Yeah,
An
and
actual game.
doesn't mean they're not ecstatic when they win. But I guess I don't care. But you're trying to like manage that versus like the parents that are like, I need to win. And it's like whatever midlife crisis you're going, or like whatever
Right,
you're
don't
dealing
put it
with,
on
like
For the kids.
if we were like that, I wouldn't play your kid at all because it's horrible.
Yep.
So if you wanted to go down that road, but do you want him to be dragged to victory by everyone else
Right.
and then never play again because he's going to suck by the time he's... Because once you're 13, 14, people have been putting time into games.
Yeah.
It spreads out, a lot. But it's just fascinating because it's making me approach something that I'm extremely familiar with from a completely different
Sure.
vantage point, and almost like I have no idea what I'm doing again.
I had a brief moment with that with Awanas, because I started when it was like Pioneers, and then like that was right when they like did their whole. I don't know how familiar you are with Awana.
I did it when I was a kid
Okay.
for a few years, but
Yeah,
I forget
they-
the structure.
I did 1 year of when the last year that they had like the scarf and like the button up and everything, and then next year they switched to like a more like casual. It was kind of lame, like the other ones. Like I'm like a Christian Boy Scout.
Yep.
So they had uniforms and now they don't, or
Just
it's
they're more
relaxed?
like casual, kind of like polo shirts and stuff like that. But like they gave you actual like badges that you could like embroider on and stuff. But went all the way up through JV. I remember you guys were leading it for a while.
Yeah, we did that for 10 years.
Yeah. And then I did 1 year of being a leader for Sparks, which was elementary.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was kind of surreal because, like, okay, I'm coaching very young kids, and I myself am, what, like 17, 16, 17? Maybe even not that. I don't know. But I'm, like, telling these, like, little kids, like, how to run around this thing. And then, like, this is really odd. I didn't do that for very long because I felt really out of my element, but... corralling a bunch of children that age when you yourself are not even like an adult yet it's weird. It is interesting. I did not have the confidence or security to do that.
Yeah. Isn't it weird when you find yourself in an environment where you're like kind of intimidated by not any single 10-year-old, but like a group of them, and I need to hold their attention, and I need to, earn their respect, and you're like, oh.
I mean, like, I'm at an age now where, like, I could be like a high school teacher, And that is insane to me. Because I feel like I turned 18 like a year ago. So, like, I couldn't. It's just weird. I'm twice the age of a 15-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah.
God. Look at him up there.
It's perched.
Yeah.
Really? Did you ever play any sports?
No, not really. I think, I got into a couple things. Like, we tried to get into some stuff. I think we tried to do soccer. We tried lacrosse a little bit. I didn't like it. I've just never been like a sports kid. I know we did like martial arts for a bit. And
We just did that for probably
a couple years.
3 years, 2 years.
Yeah, and there were tournaments and stuff in that. So that was
Was
kind
it
of cool.
like mixed or like a specific style?
It was like kickboxing mainly, but it was like there's a little bit of like other stuff in there too. We learned how to we had these like dual sticks that we learned how to fight with. It was
Stick
actually-
fighting.
Yeah, it's
Rambo.
That's awesome.
It was kind of cool. And then like the tournaments, you like fight face off against like your gear, and you wear like headgear and stuff. So it was actually kind of cool. But we did that for a bit. I got up to like a purple belt, which was like it was like I can't remember the belt ranking, but it was like I think it was like purple, then brown, and then black.
Yeah, purple's like really close to the end.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
But they had like all the
the tape.
so they put tape on your belt.
Yeah.
So you'd get like,
or like purple
yellow,
plus
and
one.
then yellow with a white stripe.
Yeah.
And then yellow with a white stripe and a brown stripe. And then you finally get up
It
to
took
like
forever to get through a belt.
so they were like belting
Literally.
up every week. Yeah.
We tried to, it took forever to get through a belt, you know. So like getting a black belt was kind of a big deal there, at least, because it's like you had to do it a while. But then even when you got to a black belt, you get a black belt with a white
There's
stripe.
like degrees.
Yeah.
Is there any like metric, like objective metric that they gauge you on if to get like a new belt?
I think it's per tournament. So like every tournament we would do, at the end of it, we would get usually a new belt. I don't.
No matter how you perform.
Not really. Like I think like typically they would give everybody a new belt. It was just kind of like, it was basically like, hey, this is what you learned. You're showing off what you learned, essentially. So it wasn't really like how you performed. It was just showing off what you did and learned. And then basically like we'd train up to that point, and then at that point we would basically like, okay, so through my entire green belt experience, this is what I learned. So I'd do that, and I'd move up to like a blue belt after that or something.
So there's like being at the tournament implies you've already earned this.
Essentially,
and now
you're just showing it
showcasing
off, yeah. And then
That's
they
cool.
give you the belt at the end, which is
So,
actually
so would like a black belt who's 15 not be as good as a black belt who's like 25?
I think the categories would change then.
Yeah.
Almost like you're starting over
Well,
in an older age group.
because I would agree. There's that too. But also, when you reach black belt, you reach a. They had this weird system. So you'd have like your belt. I still have all my belts, by the way. I don't know where they are. They're in my room somewhere. But you'd have your belt, and then some of the belts, I remember some of the colored ones, but at least the black ones, I knew they had this. But as soon as you reach to a black belt, you get a black belt with a white stripe in the middle, and then you go through the whole color thing again.
Oh, you get an Oreo
until
belt.
Yeah, literally.
Oreo.
You get like, then the next one would be a black and yellow belt, or
Yeah.
and then it'd be like a black and green belt or whatever. So then you're going through the entire color system again with already doing it. So you'll basically do it twice essentially, and then you get the full black belt.
So my question is like, is that consistent across like all people who teach this, or is it just by like a, like, you know, institution by institution?
I think it's institution by institution. I wouldn't, yeah, because the tape thing felt kind of like it's their own thing.
So it's like they're like at the discretion of the teachers to
Essentially,
decide.
because at the end of every lesson or week, we'd get another piece of tape on something we'd learn, and then like by the end of the tournament, we'd have like a bunch of tape on our, like a bunch of different colored tape on our belts, and then at the end of the tournament, we'd get a new belt.
Because the whole belt, like the first belt you started with was white,
Yeah.
but then they'd add the colored tape, like just a loop around it. And it was Mars, martial arts
Yep.
research.
Was it at Mars?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Troy and
This
Tony.
was before they moved though. It was at their older location.
Our kids did that. They moved with them.
Okay.
And then it just get too much. I think we were over ambitious. We put like 4 kids in it.
Oh yeah.
And some of them were plainly like too young.
Yeah.
And then we just
It's a
dropped
little
it.
expensive,
It's-
and they're out
yeah.
there just kind of like, you know, I don't know, got their little, what's it called? Your
Boxing gloves or what?
no, the thing you wear.
Oh, good.
What? Oh, you're
Gi.
Gi?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
rope thing?
Yeah, the rope. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's
Gi.
yeah.
Which
Yeah,
is super
what it
cute
is.
to see your little like toddler in one of those, but it's like 150 a month for her to go out there and like,
Yeah.
you know.
And so we were spending like $600 a month.
Yeah.
Right. And 2 of them were really getting it, and
Yeah.
2 were just like, eh. But that kind of leans back to my like shifting ideas on sports. Or like it's a total double thing because in one sense I see it as extremely valuable in like a society that's we've done a pretty darn good job of like corralling our like innate aggression and stuff like that, and kind of corralling it into like those things. Like we just had the Super Bowl and saw everyone yelling at each other.
Right.
We've aimed it there, which seems pretty productive compared to where we could be aiming it. But in another sense, it's like, you know, as I spent all this time and energy doing a sport that like now I'm 38 and I got a lot to live still, and like I have a great jump shot, which is worth what? I don't know. Other than like a little bit of street cred if you got together with a bunch of other guys who also cared about that,
Yeah.
which I just don't value anymore. And so you're like, what if I put all that into something else that was similar, like martial arts or something, where I could see like that, I assume has value like throughout life.
So I played flag football when I was in school, went to private schools. So we played flag football. I really enjoyed it. It's very much a team sport, right? It's like, for me to get like a group of guys
Together and do that.
Organized.
Be tough.
that are pretty much out of shape for that particular sport, and then you gotta find like a flag system, or you gotta do touch, and it's just, yeah, so I don't go out and play flag football, but I enjoyed it.
There's a guy at our church, I think it was Jared and maybe John, we're trying to get like either like a softball or some kind of flag football thing going, and I'm like, good luck.
It's a heavy lift.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and there are guys that do that, and I get bugged like a lot. Like, oh man, you look athletic and blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, I am, or was, or something like
I
that.
got the softball beer league every Tuesday night.
Yeah, and so there's like softball and like the football stuff, and I'm just like, I could do all that, and at like a decent level for a bunch of dudes with beer guts.
Yeah.
I just don't care. And
This doesn't bring you that joy.
not like probably in the moment, like the 3 seconds of doing something cool, yeah.
But not for the
Like,
time.
am I gonna get ready to go do this and all the stuff?
Live
like,
the glory days.
well, you see how difficult it is for even us to get together. And most of it's like what you've got back home. It's like I got 7 kids now,
Yeah.
or
Even golf, like, I don't have half a day
yeah,
to go
golf's
play 18
so-
holes.
I know a lot of guys that like that is what they do.
Yeah.
Every Friday.
And they like mock you for not going with them, and you're like, if there's anything I don't care about doing, it's like walking, for like 6 hours or something.
Well, there's some professions that also, like, you kind of have to know golf, in that
Yeah, you
as
can't
well.
just show up and golf because like I'm not a good golfer
You'll have a horrible day.
because it's a skill like anything else. I didn't put any time into doing that when I was young.
And being terrible
I'm
at
not
it
gonna do
around
that now.
people who are good. Is
Yeah, they're
one of
not
the
having
wor-
fun.
One of the
You're
worst.
not
things.
having
Try to be like,
fun.
oh, it's okay, just we're out here having fun. It's like, you are.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you're good at the game.
I just shanked it. 2 fairways over. I'll see you guys in like an hour, I guess. Go find my ball.
You're like,
It's just embarrassing.
hey, 5-6 years ago, like I went golfing like a bunch for like a year because I was like, that's what business guys do, and like all these bankers, they always wanted to go golfing.
Yeah.
Take
But,
clients out.
And then they're all, they're giving you all these tips and stuff. And you're like, yeah, just prep. But I was like, but then I was thinking about the other sports or all the other skills that I have gotten good at. And it's like the time it would take to get where I want to go. Like, I don't care about this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to do that.
That's why I gave it up.
It's not-
I played weekly when I was in chiropractic school, mostly because it was like $12 a round. So we were in Iowa. You could grow grass on the sidewalk. They didn't even have sprinklers. It's just green grass. You mow it. And I never got good. Like Riley and I, we'd go to the driving range, and you have a couple of good hits. It's like, oh, maybe I'm gonna golf again. No. It's like, because then you don't have the muscle memory and endurance. So you're like 3 holes into it, and it's like bowling, right? First game, I'm good at this.
Yeah.
And then your muscles are like, we're done.
I
And then you
broke
just-
100. Heck yeah.
And then this last time at Oliver's birthday, I bring the 3 kids along, and my 2-year-old almost outbowls us. And we're like, well, that's
Okay,
embarrassing.
we're done.
Yes.
At least that's not a huge commitment. It's not super expensive. The kids can actually go and enjoy it.
Yes.
I'd feel guilty if I left for 6 hours once a week to go play golf and leaving the kids at home, my wife.
That's the thing, where it's like, my wife's all, because my wife didn't do sports at all, so she doesn't get any of like it. And I was like, I get it, like you, but I was like, there's no way if my kid wasn't playing, like there's no way in heck I'd be coaching.
Right.
But this is something I basically tolerate everyone else's crappy kids because this is some bonding stuff with me and my son. But the guys that are like, I live for this, and like, my kid's 30 and I'm still coaching Pee-wee because I love it. And it's like, at least me now, like I don't see that.
Yeah.
I just.
And that is like the cliche, right? Like, taking your kids to soccer, and it's like all that, but
You'll be a soccer mom or something.
Well, yeah, because we have all the multiple kids, and you guys do too. It's like then you're like running around. Most of it's like running around. I'm like, what? value am I getting out of this that I could be like maximizing value for me and my kids in some other way that I haven't seen, because that's just what we do. We're a culture of like, your kids need to be playing sports. So it's soccer season, baseball season, it's basketball season, it's
And that's
gym
like,
season.
And some kids play multiple sports. They're busy year round.
Mm-hmm.
And then they end up with injuries. They've got open growth plates that, I don't know.
I've jacked up my knee and my tailbone playing basketball. Oh yeah, because I don't even know what I did to my knee, but I tore off like some cartilage and it was floating around. And it was in high school, and there was this one tournament, and I just couldn't do it. And of course, you got the coach, what the heck's wrong with you?
Yep.
And you're like 15, you're like, I don't know. And then the next day, like my knee was like grapefruit. It was like squid, it was just fluid. And went in there, they're like, yeah, you got a like quarter-sized piece of cartilage you just ripped off your femur. We're gonna have to take it out. So you're out that season, and your coach is like pissed at you.
Yeah.
And then same thing I felt, because I used to be able to jump really high, so I could dunk pretty easily. And but I did something weird, and I slipped off of a rim and landed on my butt. And it hurt, but I was like, oh, I'm fine. And then later on, like, I developed some weird cyst thing, and I had to have surgery to have it removed the summer before I went to college. So I didn't play in college. And I thought, well, I'll jump on the team like sophomore year. And then I went back to that summer to have it looked at, and the surgeon's like, I don't like how this healed, we're opening up again. So that just kind of ended, which got me into music, so that's cool. Because I didn't do music before that. But
Well, even like the kids, like Nora showed a little bit of interest in soccer, but she was late to the game, so you show up to fire or soccer, and all the kids know exactly what they're doing. They're really good, with their feet, and Nora's just super intimidated.
Yeah, and they've been doing it. Their older siblings have been doing it.
Yep.
because their parents got them in when they were 5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And you take it super
Nora-
seriously, and they're in
Nora's
summer
age,
camp.
yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I had that experience the one time I went to Twin Peaks, because like it is mandatory for you to play the games,
Yeah.
and they'll do
At
like
church camp.
and they'll do like volleyball, and there's guys my age who are super into sports, and they're like creaming me, and they're like up, like we talked about with golf, they're having a bad time because I'm doing poorly,
Right.
And so it's like everybody is losing in this situation.
Yeah.
So
Especially like something like that. Like I kind of felt it with Twin Peaks, but then they probably changed the games, because when I was there, they didn't feel like. I think we did like volleyball a couple times, and I was kind of okay at it. I was like decent at it. But like I know like with the big group games that you do with the entire
like
camp.
capture the flag over the whole place is insanely fun.
Yeah, it is so fun,
Yeah.
and it's not really that hard. You just
Low
run
skill,
it,
you just run.
essentially.
Yeah.
That's all you need to really do. But then like,
But like if you've never, like I had never like served,
yeah.
And there's a certain technique to different ways to strike the ball.
And I got a little bit better, but it was like that was a very unpleasant.
never where you're like
experience.
where you trust the consistency of your.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm being forced to play volleyball right now.
And there was also like I think they had a bit of a. They also had a like a basketball court up there, and they were going to try to do that. And I'm like, I am terrible at basketball. And everybody in my cabin plays basketball. This is terrible.
Yeah.
Like I think at that time I just sat out. Like, I'm not going to try.
I understand why, because they don't want kids to like be the emo
Yeah, just sitting
over
around
on
not
the
doing
side,
anything.
just kind of like talking about indie music or something instead of talking to everyone else. But it's like at the same time, forcing someone to play a sport that they don't like or are not good at is not a very great thing either.
But then they do it really well with like capture the flag, and then it's just a really simple game, and it's really fun. So like so it just kind of depends, It's like some people are definitely like physically inclined in that way, where they're like that's just like there's like natural athletes. People are just like naturally good at like anything. Like,
Doesn't matter what sport they just
they just get it.
There's like two kinds of people. There's like the ones who are like the fitness and health freaks who I don't understand, who just really love to do all this, any sport, anything. And then there's like the almost like masochistic, maybe something was wrong with your upbringing, where now you're like, I have to be an Olympian because my dad told me I had to, and then smacked me. And it's like the people
I get,
like NFL Olympics, like when you refine your body, like that specifically, it's like that's a whole different different ballgame.
Yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah.
And there's also like I feel like there's like the other side of the aisle. Then there's like people who are like naturally like gifted in like music and stuff, where they're like basically, you know, they're probably not super interested in like sports and stuff, you know, but like they could probably play most instruments, you know, or they can pick it up. Like for example, we have the Callis boys. So like Michael Callis, he was like a natural athlete. He was very like he played baseball, but he was also pretty good. Like he had a really good arm, but he also like not too bad at basketball either. He was just like pretty naturally athletic too, and he's just kind of good at any sort of like sport and we kind of put him in. And then his younger brother Gabriel was a natural musician. Like he was still pretty athletic like his brother, but like he was really good on the piano.
He's great when he does worship.
Yeah. He's like on the guitar. Like he doesn't have to play the guitar. He could probably figure out the drums really easily. Like it probably wouldn't be that hard for him to figure it out. So like it's kind of that other side, which I think is kind of, I think that's like a prime example. Of that.
Yeah.
So
Do you feel like you had that with piano? Like it just kind of like clicked for you without too much
Yeah,
difficulty?
well, so I want to circle back to what I was originally talking about, where growing up in school as a kid, I had like many different interests, and of course you have different adults that see promise in one area and they try to
Encourage it.
But I always found this value in like I came across the concept of like a Renaissance man, and I was like, that's what I'm gonna be, like a multidisciplinary dude. Like I super value that. And for some reason, now it's almost reversed. Where I almost didn't respect the guy that was just tunnel visioned at one thing.
yeah,
Now sometimes I really respect that because you see like, wow, they've gone so far. Like they can't tie their own shoes, but they're savant at this. And I guess it's just whatever. But
And they can sometimes pick up, like through osmosis, other things along the way too.
so I would just physically, you know, I was really athletic. So people always wanted to capitalize on that. And there's a lot of status in when you're young through being an athlete. So it's like, yeah. But when I couldn't do that anymore, well, you know, my mom had forced piano lessons on me when I was a little kid for like a year or two, and I hated it.
So you had a little bit of a foundation then.
I had a little bit of foundation, but like in college I met this, you know, in college you're meeting all the people, trying to figure out what you're going to do, and there's all this stuff. And I met this girl, and it's like, well, what do you go? Oh, I've got choir practice, or choir auditions.
Yeah.
Like at 5 or something. I was like, oh, that's cool. I remember, you know, whatever. Other than that, never saying anything. You should do it. But for some reason, who knows what possessed me? I was like, whatever. This girl's cute. I'm gonna go do that.
Yeah.
And did it. And I wasn't a good singer, but I think they're just like, whatever. We need bodies.
Yeah.
Especially like we need guys like in performing arts, right?
You need a little bit of like bass or whatever.
So I got in. And I'm saying the song, that's fun. It was a gospel choir, which I was unfamiliar with the genre.
Interesting. A lot of energy.
But I grew up with a lot of rhythm and blues type of music,
Yeah, you
and
said
they're related.
Cut your teeth on Motown and all that. And
Yeah, so I was very familiar with that genre, and they're very related.
Yeah.
So now I like this. But the thing was, there were these dudes in the front. We practiced with a live band. There was a pianist and keyboardist and drummer and bass guitarist. And the guys on the keyboard, they could do stuff on it because they grew up, like we're talking about sports. When I got to know them, they played piano since they were 4. And these big black churches that did all the stereotypical stuff. They did stuff that I was like, I didn't even know that instrument was capable of making those sounds. And I just started to bug them. I was like, how do you do that? How does that work? How does this work? And they're like, go away, kid, you bother me. But I would, when a kid, he's a close friend now, he always tells a story about like, I would start stealing his sheet music and copying it. And you're right, because I knew just enough that I could like, you know, like a kid sounding out, I could like pick out, it wasn't just Greek, it was like, I'm a first grader trying to read. And
He's pirating sheet music.
no, I was back then. Oh my goodness, because it was like YouTube was like
Right.
Not a thing.
Yeah,
It just showed up. I
YouTube
think.
was 2005.
Yeah, so this is 2004, I guess. And anyway, I was like, I'm gonna learn how to do this. But it came pretty quick to where a lot of the kids were like, wow, you've kind of caught up to us. But I would practice like 4 or 5 hours a day. You just get, I would just call it the bug.
Yeah, that itch.
And you just get obsessed with it.
That's what happened to me.
And some super hot girl's like, you come into the party? And you're like, no, I'm gonna hang out by myself in the piano rooms. I faked like I was a music major because you're not supposed to be in there. And the secretary ladies got to know me, and they're like, oh, don't worry, we'll unlock the door for you. You forgot your card. And I was like, yeah, I forgot my card again. I just became obsessed with it.
Nice.
And then dropped it, of course, as life moved on later on in years. But what was the point of that? Oh, I really valued, like, not being just a jock or just a this or just a that. But now I'm like looking, you're like, well, there's a lot of value in that, in the sense where like I'm mediocre at anything, but world class at nothing. And you're like, I don't know.
I feel like what you were saying earlier kind of made me think. First things we were talking about was like, do we go that jack of all trades or not? And I think it's beneficial to kind of dabble a little bit in every category. It's like,
It's definitely me.
like maybe like learn an instrument, write an essay or a book, you know, learn how a certain sport works. Even if, I don't care, chess, whatever. Like get interested or good at like games, because I think games are important. But then also there's the dry stuff, like, you know, math and business and all that a lot of people don't really care about, but it's like, it's also valuable.
That happened to me too, getting out of school and reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, really. Like, I go through that book once every couple of years. Not as some laborious, like I need to do this, but like it gives me such weird, now like nostalgic pleasure to think those things in the same way that music did, in the same way that sports did. And like maybe my life would just be a succession of those types of things, but I'll probably never be like Donald Trump, who was probably just studying that stuff since he was 7 and following his dad's foot. I don't know. And
You should call it the trivial pursuit method to building a better life. Get somewhat good in something in each trivial pursuit category.
yeah. Well, there's something to like, you know, it's easier for a natural athlete, I guess. But in another sense, like, I always thought, like, God gave me a body, as Gene calls it, the meat robot. It'd be one thing if I could be a spirit or something, but like I have a body, and like everyone does.
Yeah.
The fattest whatever person on the planet has a body, so I'm like, I ought to get good at driving.
Yeah, some physical things.
So to me, like, I don't really care what. You don't have to be a sports person. Like, you got to do something that makes you good at using this thing.
I heard Tim Kennedy a while back. He does that sheepdog response. I don't know if you follow Tim Kennedy.
I don't know.
He ran several of those missions into Afghanistan, rescuing all the people he left behind, and a bunch of ex-military guys. Like,
That's awesome.
Yeah, rescued hundreds of people, load them up on airplanes, go back in, get more. His whole thing is, in particular, if you're a man, he's like, you need to be able to handle yourself physically in an altercation. He thinks every man should have at least some basic skills, grappling, or, you know, if you're out with your family and something goes down, or you encounter someone that's like threatening your family, you should be able to handle yourself. And this is like a recent thing I've heard him say. And so now he does the sheepdog thing, and I don't know what it all stands for, but he's got, I think they're like almost like CrossFit boxes, like franchised across the country, and it's just for guys and gals. All right, a little bit of hand-to-hand combat, self-defense. If someone pulls a knife, here's how you defend yourself against a knife. kind of interesting stuff. I've thought about getting Andrea and me into something like that. Like, I'm not going to go every week and learn like MMA fighting. Like, I don't want to get punched in the face. I really have no interest in that. These are my money makers, so I don't want to break those. And I don't know that I want to like wrestle on the mat with a dude either.
Yeah.
When Haley
But if you find yourself there, you want to know what to do.
I'd like to have some physical skill.
I'm with you.
when Haley was in college, taking her gen eds, trying to lead up to becoming a vet. Before we were dating, and then she was like, I don't want to do that
It's a
anymore.
long time ago.
Yeah. One of the gen eds she took was self-defense. She loved that class.
Really?
Awesome.
Yeah, because it's just all practical
Was that
stuff.
at
And it's,
CMU or?
yeah,
Oh,
she loved that.
yeah.
So
I've talked to Tim about that, maybe bringing that into the church, doing it on like a.
I really
Sunday
think churches
afternoon or
should be doing practical stuff.
something.
it doesn't have to always be Bible related.
Yeah. No.
You know?
Well, so you're right. It doesn't always have to be.
You just build community.
But I don't think that it is necessarily compartmentalized anyway, because the Bible's really just, in some ways, it's like how to live life.
How to take care
God
of
made a
family,
physical world, and we've gotten to this like Gnostic, like our culture's like
Yeah.
everything's just spiritual, and it's like God made this whole thing, and like He intends us to learn how to use it. So like one of those things is evil's in the world still, and it manifests itself in a lot of physical ways. We need to know how to combat that. And
Have you watched Andrew's video yet? This is
no, she sent me like 3
angels, gods. and then
yesterday.
Paul.
She loaded me up, and I was like, "Oh, I should watch all these before I see what the guys." And I was like, "That."
It's another rabbit hole. She actually went down. Pastor Tim kind of discovered a little bit of it. It was one of the recent Blurry Creatures episodes. This guy, Ali something, I can't remember his last name, but he did a video, documentary, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, when like Google Video was just coming on the scene, and everyone's like, no, video's not going to, internet is not a
be a
place for
thing.
video. Internet's only for audio.
Echo was playing.
And so this is before YouTube.
gone?
So he does this
Yeah, I
video.
left.
He's got millions of views now, and it's like built. It's not like the widescreen. It's like the boxy YouTube video. And it starts off a little slow, but then towards the end, it gets into some crazy stuff about angels and abductions and all kinds of stuff. But makes a very compelling argument that like angels are physical beings. You know, they'll come and wrestle you and pop your hip out of socket
About-
to win.
Like churches.
And they
should
don't
have,
have
like,
wings. Angels
self-defense
don't have
classes
wings.
and stuff
Like
like
that came about. Like,
Yeah.
medieval art stuff.
Medieval
they-
art
You missed
stuff.
a lot of content.
I know. Weird that.
Greek Hermes
That's
having.
gotta be it.
So let's
I
give
know.
angels.
That's
a
gotta
chance.
be
Yeah.
You should know better.
Hermes.
But
Anyway, but another argument that like we are physical creatures. We're spiritual creatures having a physical experience, I would say.
That makes sense.
But because of that, I mean, Christ compels us to, if a man can't take care of his family, is worse than an infidel. It's like, well, maybe take care of your family is also being able to protect your family. It's not just financially, right?
Yeah, it's all the things, which is kind of why I've driven myself nuts, expecting myself to be like good at everything that one could possibly be good at, which is not possible. But you still kind of like aim at that, I guess.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Like I guess what that guy's saying, like women and men should be, because women have bodies too. But at the end of the day, women will always look to men to do something. So if you're the only guy around, they're gonna look to you to do it. So you're like, I should be good at it.
right. We have the opening jar thing down pretty good.
Yes. Spaghetti sauce.
I swear, I don't get it. It's like you're able to hold a baby for so long. Meanwhile, I'm over here holding it for like a minute in the store, and I'm like, my arm is killing me.
But I can open a jar.
I can open a jar, which seems like it.
Different torque.
I swear
versus,
they have to like prime it for us, and then we're just like,
It-
if only you
they
could
put
try
all
one
this
more
effort
time.
into it. And then, I don't know. But same thing is like, but you meet the jock guys and they've neglected their mind,
Yeah.
so they're
Yes.
just as vulnerable.
Yes.
Because I haven't paid attention to basketball for the longest time,
Yeah.
but I have been again because I've gotten dragged into this and catch myself watching stuff, and I'm like, oh, this is dumb and it's worthless. I can't believe 50-year-old men spend a lot of time in this, but I'm watching it, and I'm kind of catching up to it. And you watch all the like LeBron James stuff, And I mean, he's a great. And you'd have, if you're just on the peripheral, you kind of don't get this, right? And that's fair. But these other, everyone's heard of Michael Jordan, everyone's heard of like Kobe Bryant and stuff, and they're famous for really like their work ethic. Like Kobe Bryant at that level is like, as far as physical gifts, he's about as average you can get. He's like average height, 6'6", average height, average all this stuff, but he's like maniacal in his work ethic,
Right.
which is why so many people from other sports and other disciplines have like adopted his like methods because they're universal as far as just like outthinking and really outworking your opponent. But so then you have this LeBron James, who's like the new like best guy. And he's 39 now, so he's kind of aging out.
Is he that old?
Yeah, he's a year older than me, so I would always pay attention to that. But he's 39, he's kind of aging out. In some ways, he's playing great, some ways he's not. But when you watch him, and again, you have to study this particular thing, but you can see the difference. And everyone wants to make him like the best ever, and everyone's like, no, it's really Kobe and Jordan, and everyone fights about it. When you look at it, you were able to watch over a career, and their careers are short, so you can actually watch it like in real time. But like their careers are 10 to 20 years, so you can watch Michael Jordan and Kobe. They're obviously gifted. They have some shticks, but they learned and grew. And every season they'd come back with like a new little trick in their bag, and they'd adopt because at first they're just jumping over everyone and all this stuff. As they get older, they're learning tricks and stuff, the old man stuff. And the difference I see in LeBron James is he shows up, he was 6'9" in high school and 245 pounds, which is just like insane. Like, well, I think when you're 18, you're like maybe 130 pounds. I don't know, maybe. So he's just like he's like Goliath. Just a cool guy. And now 21 years later, he's still just he's got the same game. And it still works just because he's so physically like imposing, but it does not work to the degree that it did.
Yeah.
And he just never really improved. So you're like, skill-wise, he's not like that good. He just kind of bullies his way through.
Yeah.
And so you're like, now as an older man, you're like, that's not really all that impressive anymore because you haven't added or learned.
Yeah.
What were we saying that? Why did I bring that up?
I don't know.
You said something, but it was the difference between like just raw talent and just exploiting that until you can't anymore.
Yeah.
Or leveraging that raw talent to now learn skills because eventually it's going to run out.
Right.
Like the defense thing. Like so now, like when you're 25 and 30, you're like, I could probably take. Especially me, like so I'm 6'1" and relatively athletic. So you just have this like hubris of like, if someone attacks me, I'll at least a 50 chance I can overpower them or outquick them. And you're like, well, what happens when you're 50 and 60? You have to know how to do this.
Right.
You're not going to overpower a 25-year-old that wants to take your wallet.
That's a good point.
Yeah, maybe it's time that the 4 of us go, or the 6 of us go take our wives and do stuff. But
You guys went axe throwing, does that count?
Yes.
Always have some axes.
Yeah.
it's all the axe throwing.
Axe throwing is very fun.
How about that's like a thing suddenly?
I almost don't want to do it out of spite just because it's such a popular trend.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to be caught axe throwing. It's probably very cathartic though, right?
It's not as easy as it looks. You kind of, because every body's different, so your arm length, some people will
The
just stand
distance
there
from
and they'll
the
just
thing.
other people like take a step. It's like bowling. Like how many steps am I going to take before I release it?
So you
So
really
there's all
got to
these
figure it
variables.
out.
And so for me, I have to step probably 3 steps back from where Andrew is at, because then you really only want one rotation cycle, and then
Oh, really?
you want it to hit the target.
Because you're imagining like several.
Should just be one cycle. And so if you're hitting it on the the top of the axe, then it's turned too much. So you need to take a step back so that as it's turning, it hits the target.
It might also be the same with knife throwing.
exactly.
You only
Makes
want
sense.
one rotation.
And they have a
Not
large dagger sort of knife
Yeah.
that is impossible to stick.
Yeah.
Really?
So hard.
The I know there's like the really big one.
Mm-hmm.
That's not too bad. It's a little heavier. There's that middle one that's got like the blade on the whole top of it, so that it like anywhere on the head it can usually stick. So then if it's sticking on the back, because like a little like piece coming off like a pick, then you know you're like it's like going too much. So you have to like throw shorter or like a big step closer maybe. So that one's kind of nice. You're able to see where you're actually throwing. But the knife is so hard to throw.
Yeah, the knife's just...
And so is the knife spinning to you, or are you trying to like?
The knife is... Yeah,
Rocket it.
it's going to rotate
Yeah.
a cycle or two. But it just...
It's
like,
too heavy. It's like it's a pretty like kind of heavy like daggerish knife, so it'd be kind of hard to throw it. But it's kind of like the axe where you have to like kind of spin it.
You're throwing it just like you would an axe.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not like a dagger. You're just like really...
Is the
Finessing it.
idea with one rotation is that anything beyond that introduce too much chaos and variability?
Yeah, because it might have some wobble
Yeah.
to it, all kinds of stuff's going on. You'll see it when people throw, like, when Andrew was first throwing hers, it was literally coming in, like, almost hitting, like, broadside at the target.
She was throwing curveballs.
Well, because, you know, she was, like, trying to finesse it with her wrist.
Ah.
And so the guy's, like, he's, like, just, like, tomahawk, just...
Yeah, because she's imagining
extremely
the
straight.
wrist putting a spin on it,
Right.
and you're not supposed to do that. Okay.
The follow through.
And it travels so fast where like one rotation it'll get there
Yeah.
like after that rotation.
Because they're all plenty heavy enough. Yeah,
Yes.
if it was a light dagger, you'd probably get 2 or 3
How far
Yeah.
from the target are you?
Here to that
Looked like
brick wall, maybe a little bit.
30 feet
Maybe,
or something.
maybe about that.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think, Riley?
Wait, what are you talking about?
How
Like,
far away
the
would the
distance?
Where the
target
light switch is, maybe a little deeper, maybe another foot. From where
yeah,
I'm
so
sitting.
like where that light switch is, kind of where probably where I'm standing or where Dad's standing is probably where you throw
So
it.
you definitely got to
It's like-
give it some heft.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's enough weight.
there's a line you can't.
So like the
cross
big one,
either.
most people will hold it here, come like straight over their head, and then
Chuck it.
release it. Whereas the lighter axe, you're side arming it. But even then, there's so much like rotation that can happen. You really have to just be.
I'd be so scared doing it like that with both hands. I feel like I just like I'm planting my legs.
Oh, you gotta let go.
It's all about the release. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let go at the well.
Yeah. Don't YouTube it before you go.
Yeah, I
The
See
guy
videos
guy
where it's
showed
like
us how to
coming
do
back
it.
at them.
Well,
the guy
even
showed
that,
us
so
how to do
that's
it.
like where, and of course I'm imagining. So when you get there, it's going to be different because everything's different. But in a sense, like getting to know your body, getting to know your body with objects,
Yeah.
I can tell because of like throwing a ball or something.
Yeah.
Like they're not the same because it's a different shape, but it's the same of like if you want to let it go probably like at the height of, or the whatever. If you hold on too long, the trajectory's
Yeah,
going
right.
to start going down. It's just, physics of it, I guess.
It's like that's what we teach our kids when we take them bowling, right? Because the thing that they always tend to do is they let go too high and then it goes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, they hold on too long.
Yeah.
The ball like curves up and then goes
Crashes
donk,
down.
and it bounces.
Right. Yep.
Instead of like right at the like peak of the
Releasing it
the
almost ground
parabolic
level.
whatever deal.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
like throwing the axes and stuff, it's kind of like a football where like from what when you let go, you kind of point almost.
I'd say it'd be similar to throwing a football or a dart.
Yeah.
You're almost like you want to point your finger where it's going to go. And that's when you release it, is when you're pointing your finger.
Or like a little before that. Yeah, it's kind of.
It's fun.
Whatever happened to darts? We loved darts in the 2000s, and
Yeah.
then we gave up on that.
I had a dartboard growing up.
Everyone did.
Yeah, darts are
Every
cool.
basement, every den.
I never understood how to play it though. Like,
No.
The game of it, yeah.
The
You're
game
just like,
of
I'm
it's
just trying to
actually-
hit the middle. I
it's a
don't
little
know.
more complicated than just
There's some cool variants. Like there's one where you have to like you start at a certain number.
Yeah.
You have to exactly whittle it down
Yeah.
and not go beyond that point. So like you start at like whatever 150, and if you're at 2 left and you hit the 3, you lose.
There are games on the wall at the Axe place like that, like Around the World and Horse, and so Andrew and I played one where you have to get so it's kind of like a big target, like darts. So it goes like 1, 2, 3, 4, and then the center would be 5. So you call it center, but then you have to go back out from that. And then there's a kill shot, which is a small little spray painted dot.
It's like a blue dot, yeah.
So you have to
skee-ball.
hit that. You have to hit that to like win.
Are we talking about the same ice place, the one over by men's room? That one?
Yes.
Okay, because there's that out there. I know there's the other place.
There's Kodiak's, and then there's Axology.
We have
Which
2
one's-
axe rooms?
Yeah.
Yes.
Which one
That's
is the
one
one
too
over
many for a
by?
town.
One is a franchise that's behind Sportsman's Warehouse.
Okay.
And that one probably it's probably a better setup because it's a franchise. And then the other one is just a local guy. He's like, oh, I think I can figure out how to make
I like
this.
it. I like that. It's cool.
So he works there. Like every time I go in, it's the same guy. He's the owner.
Wow.
And then if you're there long enough, then he leaves, and then they'll do like black light axe throwing in the evening.
Oh, that's
They
cool.
turn the black lights on. And,
It was kind of cool because I was there with like a couple of my friends, and then like a couple of the guys' buddies showed up, and they were just throwing in the other stall because nobody else was there.
Yep.
So we were just all kind of hanging out, which is really cool. So it's also cool. You can spray the wood with water, so the stick is easier. So it's like you're just not bouncing off, even if like the head is hitting. So like it's damp, so it'll actually stick better.
is there like 2x6?
Yeah, they're kind of they're pretty. It's pretty tough.
Pine planks that they.
You probably want a ton of wood,
Yeah.
like a deep wood, because that thing's going to get demolished.
And they're replacing the planks, probably not all of them, but especially the center one. They'll probably
Daily?
replace almost daily. Yeah.
There's places in California where basically you can bring in whatever you want to bring in to destroy, and they give you these like
Oh, yeah.
concrete floor,
I've seen
wood
those,
wall
yeah.
places, and they'll give you like bats and stuff, and you can just like
Yeah,
throw
you-
glasses at the wall, and you have like goggles
Yeah.
on and gloves
It's for
and all that.
the
but-
non-sport guys getting out there.
yeah,
right?
it's chaotic axe throwing. Just bring stuff, like bring a
Just take out your rage on something.
like office space. Bring in your printer and you smack it with baseball bats.
There's a place on Main Street where you could throw like china and glassware.
Really?
Yeah, and
Here?
there's a massage place next door, and they complain nonstop. So finally, they shut it down.
funny.
It's like you just want to get out some rage.
Oh, they just need
You're
to
getting
move.
massaged, and through the wall you hear crash, bang.
Yeah.
That'd be a fun business. I think what ended up why I
Let to
like
clean up.
business after all the like interests
It's like you-
is because it's like the back end of anything you wanted to do. Or like I'm talking about basketball, like the NBA. It's just an organization. It's a
Yeah.
business that found something people like to watch, and they made a business out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Music, I mean, so like to me, it's like the ultimate expression of creativity. As long as you don't get relegated to like the accounting office or something.
Right.
But it's like it's what supports or it's the logistics behind all these things. And that's how you can like get out your artistic expression through that.
Yeah. Who's the first person that thought axe throwing with people that don't know how to throw axe throwing?
Would be cool.
That's a
That's a
great idea. You
Brave
definitely have to sign
person.
like a waiver,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think
release all liability. And,
Yeah, if you do throw it at your own shin,
oh man. There's probably
That's like half
have
the
idiot
reason I've never
insurance.
gone. Is it's just like I don't like the variables that play here.
Yeah.
it's far enough away. Like
it's not gonna bounce back at
I
you.
threw the dagger and it hit the heel and it tumbled back probably halfway back to me. But he even said, he's like, just don't, when you throw it, don't turn your back. Don't think you just stuck it. Just watch it the whole time. And if it wants to come back, you need to obviously step out of the way, which, I mean, it never came all the way back.
So far.
And he's like, wait till it stops moving. Because he's like, you might throw it and then it hits the ground and you're already like impatiently going towards it and it's still bouncing at you.
Looks
And I
like-
did that mistake once when we went in. Well, I better stop walking towards it.
Looks like the safety protocol of like other people like stepping away while someone else takes a turn.
I think it's. Sorry, you go ahead. I don't know.
It's a narrow enough alley, and there's like a mat that you stand on, and then everyone just stands behind you. And they've got like tables there.
Okay.
You can drink alcohol. You can have like one
Really?
beer an hour, up to 3 per whole
That
session.
sounds like a recipe for disaster.
They have like a.
But also a lot of fun.
really, they have really big Jenga there, so while you're waiting on somebody's turn, you just play Jenga.
Big Jenga.
Yeah. But I think it's like everybody you throw it, then once your turn's done, you make sure it stops, then you go grab your axe because you don't want to do multiple axes on the same thing because it hit the other axe.
There's a big
They
magnet
don't
on the
do
wall
partners.
coming back.
partner throw.
You each have the big axe in the middle, like and then there's nobody can get the middle now because your big axe is right there.
They've got a double lane, so if you want to go, maybe you have like 2 couples.
Yeah.
So each couple's on a lane, but it's all open, and so you can both throw at the same time.
I guess like a shooting range, indoor shooting range,
Yeah.
where you're kind of next to each other.
Yeah, like they like their
Photos.
stalls and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty fun.
That's good. That's the cigars and those.
Yeah. And please pass some more of that.
The goods. Here, I'm gonna grab a piece.
I'm scared when do what I did to myself at I must have been 25 or something. Did I tell you that story? Because I didn't eat breakfast this morning, but I was like, I'll grab something before, and I didn't. So now I'm like, oh, empty stomach. We're taking a risk.
The jerky's the way to go.
Wolfing it down, but
Jerky's all fun and games until you get that piece of meat stuck in your mouth or your teeth.
and your jerky's so good. Man.
Nice thing about homemade jerky too is that it's not made in a factory, so you know that all of the gross excess fatty bits have been chopped off.
Yeah. Would it technically be less expensive to make your own jerky than buying it? Because jerky's really expensive.
Well,
Yeah.
and I'll buy it. It'll be like top round or bottom round. Sometimes it'll be like buy one get one free. So I might spend like $25 total and end up with like 3 bags or 4 bags that day. Like
See,
if you were to buy that at the grocery store,
That thing was packed, and that amount of Jack
$25
Links
for the
would be
bag.
like 15, 16 bucks easily.
And you don't get that much either in the
No,
bags.
not at all.
True.
Yeah.
They're like huge bags. Like
Unless you're
chips.
going to Walmart, like City Market and Safeway, you're gonna get like the Jack Links that has like 5 pieces in it for like $6.
Yeah, exactly.
it's got like maltodextrin and
It's all damp in
soy
there.
protein added.
When Gene was here, we were talking about how much we hate sugar, excessive sugar in beef jerky.
Yeah, they make it all like super sweet. It's like
Yeah.
candy.
Yeah, it's really hard to find like not sugary beef jerky at the store,
Yeah.
And this one was the first
Me too,
batch that
that's
actually
it.
added like a tablespoon of sugar.
and
to it.
I can barely notice.
Yeah. If nothing else, I think it added a little bit of a caramelization or the smoking.
That's good.
Great.
There's some benefit to that.
It's great.
Kind of back to the axe string thing though, but Dad, Uncle Jake let me throw, it was like a couple winters ago, but he let me throw some of his tomahawks
Oh, yes.
up there. He had like these real big like logs, and he like actually had like targets on them and stuff, and he just kind of showed me how to throw them. They were kind of hard to throw because, well, one, the head wasn't always like, it would kind of slide down a little bit, so you're like kind of keep it at the end, and then when you throw it, it would
That's a
stay.
little
But like it would just like, if you're kind of holding it up, it might kind of fall down a little bit. So it was a little weird, but they were kind of big and they were kind of hard to throw. But it was kind of cool though.
That's cool. How's the TikTok card videos?
She's produced a couple more. Gets lots of comments. She keeps getting more and more followers. Can't really do much on TikTok till you have like 5,000 followers. I don't know.
She's over 1,000, isn't she?
I think she is. Yeah, she might be a couple thousand now.
That's cool.
Let me look.
I don't know. I'm kind of dubious about TikTok anyway because it's like some China-owned company and like
Yeah.
there could be one act of Congress and all of a sudden all Americans are kicked off of TikTok and then all their monetization's gone. And so now she's got an Instagram channel that's the exact same. It's like Mom Boss 007 or something. So
Nice.
she copies every video onto Instagram as well. So now she's on the 2 platforms so that, you know, if one gets taken down.
759 followers.
700? That's it? Oh, that should have more than that.
She's got a
She
lot of
has,
views though.
54,000 likes.
Okay.
That pinned one with the key is at 869,000. I mean, I was telling you about the one that Ethan posted,
Yeah.
right? Which, let me go check on that one. Just some random dumb clip from a live stream.
What was he live stream on? Like what were they like live streaming?
Well, I was on it.
What were you doing?
It was Firewatch.
Oh yes.
He just picked up a dinosaur and started saying silly things, and it has
Firewatch is such a good thing.
2 million views.
What?
Yep, 329,000 likes. It got their YouTube channel over 1,000 subscribers. It was just the dumbest little stupid thing, and you can never predict that.
No.
And when it comes to like, you know,
It's the
when you're
algorithm
not
just
trying to
right.
be viral and you're just putting out whatever, it's like, oh, that one picked up for some reason.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
It was like my kid just introduced me to Mr. Beast yesterday.
I'm so sorry.
Because at first I'm like, who is this guy? He almost looks a little bit like, not like exactly like you. I was like, oh, a little bit of Alex in there.
He's I think he's kind of young actually. I think he's only like 23.
He's young,
24.
but I was like, I don't get it. Like, why? And my son's like, well, he gives away money all the time, so everyone wants to watch it because
It's very
like,
philanthropic.
well, like, where does his money come from? Like originally.
I have no idea that. I've always
But I
wondered.
was looking at it, it was like
I think it's from a
300 million views on one video.
It's like a
100, like,
Lamborghini with just
His
pennies.
crappiest videos are like 50 million views, and he's like, what is this?
It's the editing and the production that just makes me want to put a bullet in my brain. 'Cause it's like it's so
fast.
Yeah, it's called retention editing. Okay. Viewer retention editing.
Look.
Literally, yeah, it's literally dangling the
So you only
candy in
use
front of you.
you only use a shot for so many seconds.
It's
before
just constant
cut.
switching dopamine, all that.
So you feel
all
like you're
crap.
swiping, but you're not. You're just watching
Exactly.
something change over and over and
Yes,
over.
and so it retains viewership, which means that you get more ads watched.
Interesting.
YouTube's kind of shifting away from that, apparently. Like it's kind of not.
Because I'm old
that
man,
much.
so I watch all the long. I would watch these
Right.
things.
The viewer retention on this is probably garbage,
Yeah.
but that's not the point, right?
We get 30-second views and then they're off to the next thing.
Well, I think like with Mr. Beast, I don't know if it's the same, but he used to have sponsors for his videos, and he used that money towards the giveaways.
Yes.
But now the giveaways are so big, it's probably from like his ad revenue plus some sponsors and stuff too.
Wait, now he could print money, but I'm just like, how do you? If that was his model from the beginning, like, how do you start that?
I have no idea.
I think it was from the sponsors, but it wasn't as large scale.
And I
as
don't
it was.
think he necessarily started with that kind of content anyway.
Yeah.
No.
I don't know what he did before, but like I said, the dude's really young. I don't know what he's been.
I think he did like some reaction videos, but he didn't do them for that long.
Are those
then
the
you-
guys that have like the house that they fill with like toy balls and it's like
There was
an
all
empty
kinds of
house, there's
stuff.
no
It was like-
furniture.
I was-
Oliver was watching this for a while.
They kind
It
of.
was like I was
stuff
hunted
like
by
that.
the military
Like punk
for
each other.
7 days. I spent the night in the Himalayas with no tent, or like just
Yeah.
stupid random stuff. But they're like millions and hundreds of millions of views. And I got it because my kid he watches film theory, that guy. I actually like him.
I like Matt Patty.
But Matt Pat, yeah. But it was like this food theory thing, and it was on the like ghost kitchens, where like
Oh yeah.
Ghost
Eh.
kitchens.
where there was like a digital menu, and you order, I want a Subway sandwich.
Like a VR thing?
Well,
No.
there's like companies where like it's a restaurant, but like there's no sit-in dining or anything, and they just have a different restaurant. So it's like the Alex and Greg restaurant, and but it's just a menu.
Okay.
And I have like a warehouse that I've turned into a kitchen,
I've heard of this, yes.
and I just get your orders,
yeah.
and then Grubhub or whoever, or maybe I deliver them.
That sounds like a Ready Player One thing.
But so then you
Yeah.
you can sell Greg and Alex's hamburger
It's a really
all
interesting
across the
idea.
country
Yeah.
with like just random restaurants all around. And
Cooking your menu for you.
yeah, and it was like the Beast Burger.
Yeah.
It was like the Beast Burger, and it was like he'd made $100 million off the Beast Burger.
Yeah.
But it's just because he's popular, so you're like, oh, I want the Beast Burger.
He made a line of like chocolate bars.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
looked
So
like
that's-
just every other chocolate bar.
I tried one there.
And there's
Exactly.
and they were like the thing was like the Beast Burger is like terrible. And again, it was why it was
Yeah.
interesting to me is
I don't
because
think
it's
they're around.
terrible is because it's his menu, it's his thing with his name on it, and it's like got these ingredients, but any restaurant in whatever can like make it. You can order it in Nebraska or Alaska. And it's just like, well, I got tuna. I'll slap some tuna on it. I got this, and then it's like, oh, there's a Beast Burger, but there's no quality control
consistency at all.
It's like the opposite of McDonald's kind
It's
of
like-
thing.
I don't know if they would supply them with the ingredients, but I know
No,
like they I think they just employ the kitchens of like whatever restaurant, and they're like, well, basically, if you just cook this, these are the ingredients,
Yeah, they don't
That's it.
supply them. They just tell them like, this
Really?
is
Wow.
this is it.
That's
At least on
wild.
his food theory
Yeah.
breakdown.
So do they pay him a royalty then?
Yeah. So like the restaurant gets more business because they're selling.
So they've
a
got all the overhead.
$10. They got all the overhead. They're selling a burger for $10. They give him
7% or something.
whatever,
Oh,
and he just makes money off it because Mr. Beast. That's why he's a burger.
and yeah.
I don't think they still do it anymore, though. I heard it didn't end out for a while.
Well, in their breakdown, they were going through like a bunch of big names have done it, and it hasn't worked for any of them because they can't control the quality of the
So it
product.
can't be consistent. Yeah.
Also, the inverse of that is the lines of coffee, because like Smosh has a line of coffee. I think Jacksepticeye has a line of coffee.
Oh,
Maybe
yeah.
Rhett and Link, I don't know. But most of these like internet celebrity YouTubers
I think Red Link do.
who start,
Yeah.
their own line of coffee.
Yeah.
It's literally this same company that
Make
Just slap
that,
their
that
label on
import
it.
the beans and roast them,
Blurry Creatures has a line of coffee.
and they let you. Some people like
the
they'll go.
Sasquatch blend.
Some
and
people will go out of their way to be like, I'm going to use this specific roaster, and we talked about beans and all that. But most of the time,
most are not.
like any big YouTuber, like Smosh or whoever, like it literally is the same company. If you go and
That
like
and
look
clothing
at
line's
look
probably
at
the same.
They're
Same
doing
deal.
private label coffee
from
slapping their label
from
on
the
it.
same place that's making it for everybody else.
That's a lot of like YouTube celebrities or like people on YouTube, like when they make a certain like food or like consumable product like
Yeah.
that, it's usually it's made by the same company that makes other stuff.
Well, Pokimane. You guys know Pokimane? Just a random female Twitch streamer who's very popular because she's pretty, and won't show her boobs. So that means she gets more viewers because
Yes.
more viewers want to see her boobs, right? But she came out with a line of cookies. You know about this?
I think so, yeah.
And
yeah.
it's like almost a direct ripoff of maybe like a Kirkland brand cookie.
Really?
Like some brand of cookie, and like there may have been like a lawsuit or she got in controversy for it, but literally it's just her version of the cookies. They taste almost identical, and hers cost 3x
Yep.
Yeah.
the other brand.
What are you doing? Yeah.
Well, even Amazon, when I was looking to sell stuff on Amazon, doing private label, everyone's going to the same factories on Alibaba.com, and it's the same factory that makes the widget, and they'll tell you, all right, send us your logo, we'll put it on the product and on the package.
Yep.
Let us know if you want any slight variations, but we don't vary out of this much because it's the same mold.
Yeah.
We use, pressure molds or whatever they call them.
Right.
And so I was selling like some TRX knockoff stuff on Amazon for like half a second, and kind of realized it's like, so when you buy stuff on Amazon, and the names are always weird. It's like the names never make sense. It's like OOGL.
Chat GPT make
Yeah.
a brand name for me for my
Okay.
massage gun.
Just as long as it's not trademarked. I'm
Yeah.
good. Yeah. So mine was Costa Well.
Yayobi or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's 1,000 different private labels on Amazon, and it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And I think like only a couple of like YouTubers and stuff like that have kind of made stuff that's actually like unique enough. Like I know
That's what I was saying.
like
a few.
Like I don't know if you know like who Oopaville is, but he's made his own. Like his dream was like making like it was kind of weird, but he was talking about it, like he wanted to make his own sour candy, like his own thing, and it's like his own. It's his own company and stuff. I don't know if it's like other sour candies, but I've actually heard it's pretty good, and it's also like that simple enough where it's like. It's candy, so it's like it can't get like too like it won't be able to get too crazy. You can't really get it tastes similar to a lot of their stuff, but they just change the flavors. They put certain flavors in, but it's probably similar to most other popular sour candies. But I've heard that one's done pretty well. Or like other like creators will do like they won't even make their own thing, but they'll endorse or like a brand or like a company like a lot of like YouTubers do like G Fuel and stuff. They have their own flavors and stuff. Like G Fuel makes all the stuff. Right. They have their own stuff, but then it's like, oh well, here's a specific flavor for this person or
Influencer flavor.
Yeah, which is like that's their own company thing, and they can just make the flavor, and it's not the YouTuber making a whole new product.
There's also like the U2s, the little figurines.
Yeah, I like those are cool.
You can make your own little figurines. Those probably cost a lot to manufacture because they're very, you have to make a new mold every time you do that.
It's
So
kind of expensive too. And the only thing, I think they're like, a lot of them are limited time too. You can't get them like all like at the same time. So.
Yeah, launching a brand new widget, where you've got patents on it and all the things. You've got a factory in China. You've actually gone over there and visited. You've given them all the specs. And then you have to trust that they're not going to knock it off and sell it on Amazon, because a lot of the factories in China do.
Yeah.
That's what they're known for, is they just
they're
steal your
famous for
intellectual property.
if you have the infrastructure, make more of the thing with the tools that you have, right?
Yep.
Well, we go to like trade shows and stuff, and for big equipment, and it's like a cliche or something. There'll be like a group of like 5 Chinese dudes, and they're not talking. You can tell like they're not doing but they're just there like taking pictures of everybody's stuff.
Yep.
And everyone's always trying to figure out ways to like get them away from their display and everything.
China is such a moral cesspool.
Yeah.
It's insane. Japan's not a whole lot better.
Yeah.
Apologies to any Chinese or Japanese viewers.
Asia's always been kind of wild. It's just a big area over there. There's a lot of people. It can get very condensed in areas. It's just a very high population.
Well, internationally, trying to expect other countries to like honor your U.S. patents and all that stuff, it's just. I think eventually they're gonna have to figure out some sort of structure around those international courts or something. I don't know, but I was watching a trade show. Was that? It was on TV. Which I never watch TV, so we must have been traveling. You know, when you're in the hotel, it's like I'm gonna turn on cable because I never watch cable. But it was a trade show, and there was this company that had this machine that was taking water out of the air.
Oh,
And I guess they've got some military contracts now, but they can produce like not a ton, maybe a gallon an hour.
Yeah,
But
that's
they're
pretty
taking
cool.
air, and basically
The
taking
moisture out of the air.
the moisture out of the air and creating water.
It's cool.
And so, like for military application, I mean, man, yeah, if you're in pretty arid areas, but you've got this machine and you can crank out some water, it's like that's pretty impressive. Yeah,
super valuable. So I remember reading about that.
not related to anything, but I thought it was interesting.
No, it's awesome. The only thing I'd wonder is because you're like, oh, that can solve our whatever, but you're like, if you mass did that, that's got to have some weird
Yeah,
effects we don't know about
right.
on the rest of the environment,
Unless you're
pulling
in the
moisture
Amazon or
out of it.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want it to be like asbestos or lead paint again, you know?
Well, not like it's gonna hurt you, but just like there's moisture in our air. What if humans like
Environmental.
in mass pulled the moisture out of the air to make it liquid for our consumption? But what's that going to do to the rest of the ecosystem that we can't even think about?
Yeah. It'll change a
Will it
lot.
stop raining? Because now I sound like a greenie there.
Depends on how much water is in the air. And like I don't understand like
There's a lot of
dew
water in
point
the air.
and all of that, but like if I were to look right now,
Well, you
I-
can't. But like, with no clouds, of course.
but
I mean,
like
clouds is water in here.
Yeah.
but like the humidity percentage is kind of like relative, right? That doesn't mean like the air is 30% water.
Oh, everywhere. No, yeah.
Because like right now it says
Probably 20%.
37% and the dew point is 22 degrees. So it's 37% right now, but that's that 37.
But what if you drop that to 20? Like, we don't know what that would do.
Right.
Well, I'm just saying 37% doesn't mean that's how much water.
Because when it's raining, it's 100% humidity. But that's still not 100% of the air as
The
water.
air can only be so saturated.
Right.
Is the thing.
Isn't it like if it's 100% humidity, like if the atmosphere is 100% like
I
humid?
knew this at one point, and I completely forgot how this all worked.
Well, I heard this somewhere. I don't know if it's true, but like, isn't like it was either like on another planet or something, but like if it might have been like Venus or something. I'm not sure, but like if the atmosphere is 100% humid and it's not raining, you would just essentially just drown because your lungs would just fill up with water. Like I'm not sure that's how that works, because if it's raining, it's 100% humidity. But at the
Yeah.
same time, that's like rain though.
I think it's only a certain, only a certain saturation.
It's rain, but
There's
you-
still air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's because
Oxygen
that
and
humidity
nitrogen
is located in like droplets.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that was just like spread out across, like
In the air, like
you would drown. You're
Yeah.
in the water.
Yeah, exactly. The air, you wouldn't be able to.
But you're
breathe.
right. Like, humidity and just straight up like
or
being in a
something.
pool, it's
Literally.
different.
Yeah.
Although, man, when you're in Florida in July, it's
Feels
kind of
like
like you're in a pool. It's so
But
freaking
maybe,
like-
I mean,
Just sweat.
like,
You just
all
layer
that to say,
sweat.
I don't understand humidity as well as I once did for like one day
Yeah.
when I learned
Yeah.
this. But there could be like way more, and like we live in a. How low does the humidity get here, like in the summer?
pretty dry.
Yeah, we're pretty dry.
But like even still, like there may be more water in the air than we realize. But also, what are temperatures? I have no idea what the effects would be. If,
Well, I guess the thing it's either it's
10,000 people
there's
ran those all
more or less of everything than we realize.
Yeah.
And we just have to accept that whenever you mess, it's just like liberals have to accept that whenever you mess with a free market thing, which is what the environment is,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of unintended consequences.
Consequences, yeah. Good and bad.
But back to the Chinese thing, you're right, like, we're in a weird transition period though, like patents and all that stuff, because we've really been global for not very long at all.
Very true.
And so we can interact with people on every point of the globe, but we have no idea how to effectively like regulate it, or if we should, or all these things. So it's just a weird free-for-all now globally of like, as long as you can't catch me and do something about it, I can copy you. So you hear some conservatives that are like, we should get rid of all patent laws and just like
I've heard that argument.
free-for-all everything, and I don't know that I agree with that, but I might be just swimming.
Think about.
I might be the fish that doesn't know he's wet because patents and all that stuff has just been like how it is. And their argument's just like, well, you know, I bought into the free market model, so let's just free everything.
Yeah.
But we do regulate things for some reasons, and just because it's gotten out of control.
And intellectual property is just, it's an interesting concept anyway, because it's a fairly recent phenomenon. Yeah.
So in some sense, it's like, okay, so you invented something, and that's great, because I wasn't smart enough to do it. But now I can see it, I can copy you,
And maybe
and I
make
can
it better.
I can deliver it way better than you can.
Right, more.
And I drive you out of business, so it's like, heck, don't we owe something to the guy who even came up with this? It's like, yeah.
But on the
I
flip
kinda
side, doesn't
get
that
it,
better
but-
humanity that like? you
But
get
he
better
can't
and better
deliver
products?
it well,
Yeah.
It's a very morally ambiguous
you know.
arena.
But so it's like that. But then you get the like, I'm already big, right? And I see this little guy inventing something, and I just like gobble him up. Before maybe you could have delivered it way better than I could have.
Yeah.
But I'm just this big end, and that's what we have kind of now. I'll just gobble you up and then do it my own way. And then you've got to come to me, and what are you going to do about it? Because I'll see you into the ground.
Yeah, we start talking like antitrust and monopolies. And
Yeah.
I've got a lot of mixed thoughts on that. Like when Bill Gates got sued over giving Internet Explorer away for free on his PCs. Oh, heaven forbid you gave something away for free. Oh, well, just put you guys in a place in the market that no one could compete with. It's like, we gave a product away for free. And they sued him and split him up over that. Wow. Did that really, was that for the betterment of humanity, or was that, I don't know. Kind of feels like crony capitalism.
And now, you download any browser you want for free.
Right. And then they data mine
Well, yeah, because
Depending
the
on
money
the browser,
was
yes.
in the money was in the browser until it wasn't anymore,
Mm-hmm.
and now the browser's just the portal into
Where the money is.
where the money is. So it's like I want as many people to have this portal as possible to get to what I'm actually selling.
Very true.
What were the browsers before Internet Explorer? So like Alta Vista?
It was
Netscape.
Alta Vista,
Netscape?
Ask Jeeves,
Netscape, Ask Jeeves.
Netscape Navigator,
I mean, obviously you had the whole AOL package.
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
And they
Explorer.
had their own crappy
AOL.
browser.
I mean, it was
Google
its own
was around
program.
like
It was.
forever.
Browser
Yeah.
inside
Yahoo.
It was all built
Oh,
on.
yeah.
That's all I can think of.
I use LibreWolf, which is a fork of Firefox.
Now there's like, what's the Lion one?
Brave.
Brave.
I used
Brave.
Brave
Yeah,
for
we
a
used
while
Brave.
and then switched to
DuckDuckGo.
The guy that started
Opera.
Firefox ended up going and doing Brave, but then someone else branched off and did the other one you're talking about.
Is Firefox still around?
Firefox?
Oh, yeah.
So the one that I use, it's called a fork, which just basically means
That's like Chrome.
it's the source code of Firefox,
Yeah.
but some things are removed and some things are added.
Okay.
It's just, you can think of it as like a modded Firefox.
Okay.
But it's like insanely private. In fact, so private, I had to turn off certain settings because they were screwing with the websites I was going to.
Yeah.
Because there's things like it fakes what time it is in your area.
Yeah.
To like, so people don't know where you are, and I'm like, it's screwing up my
Depends
YouTube
on how
scheduling.
right.
Because I'm
Yeah,
scheduling
yeah.
my YouTube stream for 1 p.m. and it's coming up as 7 a.m. the
Yeah,
next day.
right.
It's
That's
like I uncheck all those, but
Actually.
yeah, I use Brave for a long time, and that's what I would like recommend most people use now.
And it's nice that they've got, you have to pay for it, but you can have the VPN built in as well, which I
Yeah.
like the idea of that too.
Yeah.
That is like
Which VPNs, they don't make you completely safe.
Nope.
They don't always necessarily encrypt your data.
they can help, but
Because, yeah, like if you're putting data into a website, like the website is getting that data. It doesn't
Right.
matter if it
You're
is
handing it to
a middleman in between
Yeah.
that. So it's nice to access content from other countries, though. Like it's fun to. There's no Chinese VPN servers, so you
Well,
can't,
see, like
can't
back
go
to
that way.
back to all that stuff. It's like it feels like it's a joke. The fact that on the internet, like you can't get certain things in some countries and you can in other places.
Yeah.
Like when you go to Canada and you try to go to Amazon, like half the stuff you can't get, or channels, or and so like my Canadian friends, they use VPNs not because they're like safe, because they're like, I want to watch
Right.
next season of
So then they turn on VPN, see they're in
Laws or
Argentina,
whatever.
and then they can see it just fine.
yeah. So you just figure out in which country is this like allowed, and I guess then you go back to this like, well, countries, are sovereign for the time being, and I guess they get to decide what they do,
Yeah.
allow their citizens to do, but it's just weird.
It is
We were
weird.
in Germany, we wanted to watch Valkyrie.
Yeah,
I told you
me
about
this.
that.
Yeah.
It wasn't as nefarious as I thought it was.
No.
It's just like Netflix doesn't have all the shows and all the countries and all that.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're in Germany studying about, it was that assassination attempt of Hitler. Like over 200 people were involved in this assassination attempt. And it was foiled at the last minute. And then they caught all the people, brought them into the Bender block areas, this courtyard, and
Just shot 'em.
shot them all. And I'm like, we need to watch this movie. We're in Germany. And we can't watch it. I'm like, Scheiße. Come to find out, it's just you don't have all the shows
Just
and all the
don't
rights in
have
other countries. But
I've
they
run
weren't trying
into
to block
that.
it.
I've run into that personally with YouTube, because you know how there's like the official uploads of like songs on YouTube.
Oh, yeah.
Like, and the channel will be like, Imagine Dragons dash topic or whatever.
Oh, yeah. It's
Like
for
the
actual content.
official upload of the song.
Yeah.
And some of them from the UK might not be available in the US on YouTube.
Yeah.
But if I turn on my VPN for a UK server, I can
Yeah,
listen to that
that's
song
all.
on
It's
YouTube.
all license. It's all the intellectual property
Yes.
That's
yes.
what it
stuff that we haven't figured out.
You want to know something funny? As soon as the whole Russia thing started to happen, a lot of record labels started banning the songs to be viewed in Russia on YouTube.
Really?
Yeah. So a bunch of my videos was like, your video has been blocked in certain countries, and I went to every single one, and it was like Russia and Belarus, every single time.
We're so self-righteous.
I know. I'm like, that's rich. That's rich.
My whole music video is a porno, but like, oh man, I got morals though. Russians
Oh man,
can't watch
that
this.
Russian citizen who has nothing to do with Putin,
Nothing
they
to do
can't
with it.
watch. Naughty. Hope they don't have a VPN.
I do not like Putin.
He's a real jerk.
Did you end up watching the rest of the Tucker
Yeah,
interview?
and even like before all that, just kind of watching stuff over the years, it's like, why do we think he's a jerk? Because our glowing box on the wall says he's a jerk. Why do we think all these other people are cool?
It's interesting because he's very much against like the whole trans movement and all this kind of stuff.
Because they're like Orthodox Christian, not like
Christian history is so crazy.
But
man.
the-
Yeah.
not like
But then
touchy-feely Christian like we
Zelensky
are.
is shutting down Orthodox churches in Ukraine.
Yeah,
all the while.
Ukraine has like ties to like Nazism, like real Nazism,
Yeah.
what was the family that Anastasia came from?
abortion, all the crazy stuff that we supposedly don't like. But
Know
we
about that though?
are just trained to hate Russians,
Yeah.
like since basically the end of World War II. Like we hate Russia,
It's
so no
what
matter what they do is bad.
it's what kind of ushered in the communist movement. Was the Anastasia thing.
Anesthesia?
What's their last name?
I read about it.
Romanov.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the Romanov family getting killed and all that. That
Natasha.
I
Super interesting.
I mean, I only know like bits about it from the animated movie Anastasia, but like
Oh, okay.
we watched that like last year with the kids, and then Haley got like really into the history and like looked through the Wikipedia, and I did a little bit too, and I'm like, this is like dense and complicated, and then
Yes.
that ushered in the whole situation with Russia in the 20th century. It's like a whole Marie Antoinette thing, but for Russia. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
No, I watched that and almost on like a general commentary. I was like, what? Tucker and Musk together are able to do, I think is so brilliant and revolutionary.
No one can control them.
Because they can't. Because then you really realize, like, we do live in a little bit of a terrarium where, like, they tell you what you're allowed to think about the rest of the world.
Right.
And Musk is like, I don't care.
Doesn't matter if there's 2 on there.
So
It's not enough.
he's letting it through. And then guys like Tucker, who I never really liked when he was on Fox and stuff,
I never watched him.
I just thought he was.
It's a little wild.
He felt like immature. Like I wanted mature news.
I
The guy that would, like, watch
that about him,
C-SPAN.
though. Like he just kind of had like a, I wouldn't say disheveled look, but he just looked like a dude and just
Yeah.
talked. And I think that's what a lot of people.
Well, now that you
Liked
see
about
him now on X, you realize like how much he was like self-censoring
Yes.
Oh really? I haven't seen anything post Fox from him.
because he got fired, and now he interviewed Trump when everyone's like, you can't interview Trump, it's not allowed. It's like, really? You can't interview ex-presidents?
Journalism.
He went to Canada and did a big thing up there like a couple weeks ago.
He was just in the. Was he in Dubai?
He interviewed Andrew Tate when Andrew Tate was in prison.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
No one's doing that right now.
Yeah. You just get to like, Andrew Tate's a bad guy. Why is he bad? Because look at him. He's a douchebag. He has big glasses and he's bad.
Women bad.
And he doesn't like girls. Okay. Trump's bad. Putin's bad. And he's like, well, I'm a journalist. I'm gonna go talk to them. And you get to hear like 2 hours of just
And he's
them
a world
talk.
leader currently at war with another country. Be curious to hear what Putin has to say.
Yeah, you didn't really get that in World War II, did you?
No, well,
No, even yeah.
no, you didn't get that
Cronkite's gonna
up
go
till.
sit down with, I don't know, Vietnam.
I don't agree with Tucker's take on foreign policy. Like, he's very much an isolationist, kind of like Trump, where like U.S. has zero interest in anything else in the world except for U.S. soil. And I disagree with that. I think the U.S. has a lot of interests around the world. Now,
Well, for one, it's not.
how
It's,
we handle that,
it's not even just true. Like, okay, are you gonna pull all your military bases from around the world and all your
that's true
economic interests?
isolationism.
I mean, are we gonna do that? No. So then, don't pretend like we're isolated. I mean, maybe you say these things we'll get involved in, and these things we won't, but
And I believe in peace through strength. Like any country we went to war with, where we brought them to their knees, we're allies with. Japan, Germany, but then other countries like Vietnam and it's
They
crap.
won the war.
Yeah, it's like you got to actually win the war, bring them to their knees if there's actually the call for it. But Tucker's whole thing with like he said that U.S. was involved in just excessive war crimes in World War II, mostly with like carpet bombing, areas of
Civilians or
every other
civilians
country was
and
too.
dropping 2 nukes on Japan, and it's like, well, yeah, I wouldn't want to have to make that call to vaporize that many civilians. But if we would have had a sea to land invasion in Japan, you know how many Americans would have died?
Yeah.
And we had to bring Imperial Japan to their knees, and we did, and now they're an ally.
oh, so he's like upset about that.
He's upset about it.
I'm
Well, it's easy for us to say, like,
But he
80
just said
years
that.
later.
Yeah.
Like, who knows what?
But he thinks that was evil.
They
He
thought
actually said
they
it was
knew-
evil that we did that. It's like,
But Japan did the same thing too. Well, they didn't do the same thing, but they did pretty bad things as well, like with Pearl Harbor and then what they did to POWs and stuff. Like Japan did some atrocious
World War
things.
II is so complicated.
Yeah.
When you realize, like, we probably knew, and we let Pearl Harbor happen because we wanted an excuse to get into the war.
Yeah.
Like our higher ups wanted to,
Yeah.
but our population wasn't willing to.
right.
Yeah, and I don't-
So we let that happen. So then you're like,
Complicated.
so like the Japanese suck because they did that. Wait, we suck because we did that. And it happened all the time everywhere. I mean,
You guys watch Oppenheimer?
I haven't seen it.
have not.
Got a cue.
I'm,
You would like it.
I'm 2 out of 3 hours into it so far.
Really?
Yeah.
it's pretty good.
Been really, really cool, really insightful into
Yep.
that whole situation because like that whole movie goes over that kind of whole moral question of what are we doing and why are we doing it and all that stuff.
Which, and at face value, like the mainstream story, it makes sense. It's like you're in a world war, At the end of the day, you're just like, this just has to stop. Like, what's the biggest stick I can hit anyone with?
Yeah.
To just say, everyone sit up, shut up, and sit down. And that's. I mean, you're always killing civilians.
Yeah.
All these dudes that were conscripted like 3 months ago
They
that
were
worked at a
civilians.
freaking leather shop,
Right.
and now they're wearing a uniform. It's okay to kill
Now
them.
it's okay to kill them.
Like, that's retarded anyway.
That's why they say war is hell, right? It's just horrible.
Or, I mean, and that's why, you know, when you read the American in the 30s and 40s, America didn't want to. They're like, that's their problem. They
Yeah.
did this like 20 years ago, and it was hell then, and we don't want to do this.
Yeah.
And, you know, our administration at the time was like, yeah, but we really want to do, for whatever reasons, like, we need to get the will to do this again. And so, I don't know.
My dad was in Vietnam, and he would. I don't know if he'd ever come on our podcast. He'd be interesting though. But he was there in Vietnam when, like, you know, planes were landing, and it was literally like, I don't remember all the. So when you talk about the like military-industrial complex, right? So you've got U.S. taxpayer dollars going into wars, but you don't just ship money into the war. You ship money in, and then it goes to contractors. The contractors are usually American companies that are then making a ton of money off of the war. And when you look back, it's like some of these companies during Vietnam were literally partially owned by Congress members, McNamara and, you know, others. He's like, literally, you see planes land with like their name on the plane, and you know they're making, you know, tens of millions off of the Vietnam War. So they were incentivized to keep the war going, not to win. It's like, then you realize that's what happened in Vietnam. It was this military-industrial complex. Organizations, individuals were making just bank on it, but we weren't there to actually win the war. And there was evil atrocities that were happening there, and so many Americans died for it, and then just didn't even win. I don't know. Afghanistan, some of these like forever wars, it's like 20 years later, still can't figure out how to set up some sort of a democracy or constitutional republic, and then you pull out, and then like within a second, 8th century barbarians like the Taliban come back in, and now they're ruling again. It's like, we did all that for that?
That's why I'm very much, even like in life, of the idea that I'm, how do you like say it? I'm never gonna, like, you'd have to do something really bad for me to hit you.
Yeah.
But if it comes where like I'm gonna hit you, it's my entire body's gonna be in it.
Right.
Right? And we
don't do it half-cocked.
We do these weird like play fight stuff because we're so big enough we feel like we don't really have to worry about pissing anyone off really.
It's like a little slap here.
So it's like if you're not gonna just go and just demoralize everyone involved, like just stay out of it.
Then stay out of it. Don't do it. I agree.
But if it's bad enough to shoot one person, it's bad enough to shoot every person. Not everybody. But, you know, like, I don't know. Doesn't mean, like, you do nothing and then you just nuclear bombs. But I mean, like, you know, like, I don't know, you play to win, I guess?
Well, even Biden's been kind of flip-flopping on that, because now he's like, oh, ceasefire, and we need some time to figure things out. We need to send money to the Palestinians, you know, for aid and support, but we know Hamas will just steal all of it anyway and just reinforce.
Yeah, so then you think, like, do we want that to happen or something? It's like, oh, we're giving all this stuff to Ukraine because we don't want to get involved. It's like, well, we're involved now.
We're involved.
So let's just have a war with Russia then. Like, that's obviously what everyone wants. On the Democrat side, at least. Like, you've been wanting a war with Russia since... I remember it became apparent, like, when Hillary and Trump were, like, debating. It was like, oh, the Democrats really want a war with Russia. And they were pissed that Trump could like, chill stuff out with them. And even then you're like, wait a minute, what did Russia do recently? Like, why don't we like them? I don't know.
And we had, 4 years of peace under Trump. We had the Abraham Accords in the Middle East. one of the first flights from Israel to Saudi Arabia. It's like that was just unheard of for like that to happen, and then it just all got undone.
Yeah, and I think it seemed like people respected Trump for lots of reasons. Partly, you know, he's got this like self-made man thing that like the world word like people that are trying to make it really respect that. It's other fat, dumb, rich people that don't like it, whatever. But like they like that, so they respected him like as a man, and then now with that position, they're like. For one, we don't really have beef with America, and even if we do, it's like don't mess with that guy because he'll probably just do it.
Right.
But when there's Democrats saying you're like, I don't really respect you because you're really a nobody who cheated your way into, you know, city council and then made your way up. So I don't respect you as a man. And then, oh, now you're like, you know, the leader of whatever. It's like you're not going to do anything. Not really. So I'm going to screw around until you know, see how far I can get.
And he's the only president recent in like the last 100 years history of a president that came out of office with his net worth lower than when he went in. All the other presidents came out wealthy.
Well, didn't even take any of the money for the job. I mean, that's pretty impressive. I don't know. Hope he wins again. But
The polls are looking in his favor for sure. Although Kamala is now saying that she's ready for the job.
sure, yeah.
She's in the 20s.
Sure she is. Oh yeah, people love Kamala. I just don't see how they don't assassinate Trump. Like they're, I mean, I don't want to say that, but like, they're so crazy. I don't know how they haven't.
There's got to be some sort of power out there.
Did you hear the reporters on their hot mic where they were talking about like how Trump might get assassinated? They were like joking about it. They were like on a city block somewhere. Like we don't know who the reporters were. Like they were never able to identify. But someone had a mic on at the time, and they're like, "Oh yeah, well, if he's driving in like a limousine with the windows down, I guess you could just shoot him through a window." And just it's like, oh my gosh. So people are thinking.
Those people are so evil and crazy.
Yeah.
Because you deal with them like in your day-to-day stuff. So you're like, I don't know how that didn't happen when he was. Like, they either actually have a lot less power than we actually think, which is probably the case. Or
Democrat mega donors donating to Nikki Haley now, which she has no path to victory.
Yeah, she sucks.
But I think they kind of know that she can be controlled, and I think she's part of that military-industrial complex as well.
Oh yeah.
There was the last attempt on Bush or Clinton.
You threw the shoe at Bush.
Just kidding.
Yeah, that was so great. He was like dodging him, just smiling. Like, oh my gosh.
I don't know, when was the last? Was there a serious attempt on Bush Jr. I mean, or Senior?
Junior.
Was there? I don't remember that.
There was one on Clinton, right?
I don't think there was Reagan was the one I can think of.
Reagan actually got shot.
Reagan had
It ricocheted in the door. Crazy.
like JFK was the last successful one. I don't know. It wouldn't surprise me if it happened again. And it's like just funnel it through the same
What's interesting
CIA
is-
rabbit hole as JFK.
Right.
and
As
you're
crazy
fine.
as we all feel like it is right now, greater than it's ever been. That seemed like it was much more commonplace in like 60s and 70s. To like be actual
attempts.
attempts.
It
Where
was
now like
way more common back then.
Yeah.
we talk much bigger games, like they were much more civil in their rhetoric. But like no one does anything too crazy.
Yeah.
At least hasn't in a
When
while.
that comedian had the severed head of Trump, remember that?
Yeah, like that would
Kathy
be.
Griffin.
I feel like,
Yeah.
from what I think I know about the 50s, 60s, 70s, like that would be an unthinkable gesture.
Yeah.
And now it's like, oh, it's kind of funny.
You think there'd be more on the line now, so it would happen more often?
Yeah, I don't know, but
I don't know.
like, right? Like it. Like you said, it hasn't happened in a while, and it feels like there's more crazies than ever.
I think it might be Ronald Reagan was the last one. I'm not sure.
As far as an
The last one I know of,
Yeah,
because we would have been kids, and that would have been a big deal. Like we would have remembered that.
Yeah.
Right. in the Clinton Bush years.
I'm very curious about that.
So that M81 cigar is pretty decent. It's pretty peppery.
Okay.
Is that the same as?
Drew Estates,
That's what I
yeah.
had, yeah.
It's like $13.
Cool.
Go do it again.
Once I got it going, yeah. I don't know what was wrong with
You
me.
got a weird light on yours, yeah. Sometimes that's we got a little cheaper cigar. Sometimes they're not wrapped. Like
Yours
right.
was like canoeing down the side a little
Yeah.
bit as you were smoking. I saw that.
I don't know if that's like operator error or what.
we were trying not to judge.
Yeah.
Although we can't compete with your ash skills, so
The ash.
It's alright. You get it on the next tee box. You're fine.
I was smoking with my pastor, and he was, because everyone remarks, like, I tried to do the ash thing, I've gotten pretty good at it, but he was saying Groucho Marx, way back in the day, he was known for putting a pin through it.
I've heard that story of different
guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put a pin all the way through it, and then you could keep it on, and he'd be all impressive.
nice.
I haven't tried that one yet.
Yeah, I've heard that of Winston Churchill, which I don't think anyone would know that.
Yeah. It's interesting. No, one of the big turnoffs is probably predictable for me, but with Nikki Haley, obviously all the stuff that's actually terrible, but when at the end of the day, like when pressed, she hides behind the same like lefty stuff. Like the like I'm a woman, don't be mean to me
Yeah.
thing.
I'm a woman of color, and it was so horrible.
I cannot respect that when we're in a war against those people.
And identity politics.
It's just saying, well, I'm not sure about the local politics. But I met with that gorilla guy the other day.
Who?
Gorilla? Remember I
Oh,
met
yeah,
you?
yeah.
And I didn't realize, I've met him before.
Okay.
I like him, I think.
He came out to the
He came out to the parade.
Reagan dinner.
Okay.
Did you guys go to that? The GOP Reagan dinner. They used to
No.
call it the Lincoln Day dinner, and then they changed it.
Oh, really? I thought there were two different
It was
things.
like a last minute. I think the new GOP leadership locally wanted to rebrand it the Reagan dinner instead of Lincoln Day dinner.
Oh.
Across the state, it's still the Lincoln dinner. But he came out and did like a little presentation.
They're late. Okay. Did I miss that? Because I don't remember him from that, but I met him at a parade, like
Okay.
when Cindy and Barbara were running still.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we didn't make it out to that.
Yeah, and Matt invited us out, and
Yeah.
I met him. He was a cool guy. He's basically my age. I think he's about to turn 40 this year. He's a
Yeah.
little older, but and resume sounds awesome. Like, turned club, gained a lot of ground in Pueblo, which is like a blue area. That's cool, but even that, and he has a great point. His point is like, because he was a Democrat and he like did a lot of work for them.
He was very active in the party.
And he made no bones about that,
Yeah.
and understands them, which is valuable. But kind of in their approach is like we need to look like the constituent. We need to basically kind of do what the Democrats do to win. It's a great point. But at the end of the day, I cannot handle this whole like, you know, I'm Latino, so all the Latinos are gonna vote for me. Like I can't tell you how often I'm approached by the local people here. What, two of them? To like, you're black, so we can leverage the black thing. And I'm like, you probably have a great point, like, right? Like you do.
It
Like,
it could be effective.
that's you know the game right now. But
But on principle,
I can't do that.
Yeah.
I can't. And so anyone that talks in those terms, I'm just like, I can't say you're wrong, but it's wrong.
Right. It's wrong on principle.
Mm-hmm.
I would say.
And I don't want to say like that's his like whole gimmick or something, but that's a heavy thing that we have to contend with that mindset, but I think we have to turn it back.
Yes.
I don't know, maybe you have to go inside to turn it back, maybe, but that, I mean, some people would say that. Like, you know, first you gotta win, so you're gonna pretend to be a lesbian, and that's our 30-year plan, and then we're gonna bring it, maybe that's the thing, but like...
Transracial lesbian.
Yeah, like we need to
More
go
like a midget.
all transracial midget lesbians
Identify as a midget.
with hopes of bringing it back, but I just think that's not really it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing we're fighting against.
Yeah,
Playing
exactly.
that game is like, that's what's the word? Not counterintuitive, but like backsliding, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, it's admitting that we're all less than we actually hope we are, and I guess in a sense, being a Christian is part of that, is admitting that you're less than you hope you're. But I don't know, because that's so I could never win here. I don't look like different here. And you might say, well, we polled, and that's true. I mean, everyone loves your politics. You just don't. Your skin's not bright enough. And that could be true, but we can't just settle on like that's how it is, and so that's how we're gonna play. But what are you gonna do? Lose all the time? I don't know.
I know. Remember Ben Nighthorse Campbell? Were you around when he was in office?
No,
Local Native American guy. I'm guessing he was probably House District 55. I don't remember. I was a kid at the time. But they asked him more recently, because there was that state statute that changed, basically saying that schools can't use Native American terms and like the Central Warriors. You know, and
Warriors. I'm glad that.
yeah, had to get rid of
that,
that. The Montrose, what was their team? Their mascot was like the Montrose, the whole like Washington Redskins, all that stuff. Like that.
Yeah,
But this was like on a
all
state
that
level.
stuff.
They had to get rid of them. Well, they asked Ben Nighthorse Campbell about that because he's still around. He's like, it's stupid. He's like, that's actually kind of our heritage. Like it's like they're in a sense trying to honor us. I know the language has changed and it's not politically correct anymore. But he's like, I have no problem with it. But it's a bunch of do-gooders in Denver, you know, that want to change all that. And it's costing these districts hundreds of thousands of dollars to rebrand their schools to get rid of this, you know, troubling. You know,
What's interesting?
caricatures.
You're making me think of the new law that Denver just passed. It's like workplace, it's harassment, all that stuff. And we saw them arguing it when we went up there. My kids saw it, and it was cool. But their whole thing was like they wanted to change like that when you're accused of whatever, being insensitive to black guys at your chiropractic office, and I complain about it. It's gonna be weird how this is gonna work out too, because, and then I complain about it, and they said it's because they want more jury trials. So to push it to jury trials in the law used to be like judged on like would a reasonable person be offended by this?
Okay.
And they changed it to like would a reasonable person of that group be offended by it? So so you'd have to not just sample America and say, you know, him making fun of me being black, would that be offensive? Because your random sample would be what, 70% white and 13% whatever.
Right.
And so those 70% white people are like, I think KK signs are great in the office. You know, you'd have to sample the people that were offended. So you'd need a jury of black guys. I guess black guys. Half Greek guy. I don't
So
know.
a jury of your peers down to like groups.
So reasonable people of that group.
Interesting.
What made you? Oh, so in that I was thinking like, you know, if we really wanted to do all that, it's kind of been done now, but you should poll Native Americans and say like, is this offensive?
Yeah.
Which would be easy enough to do.
I think they did in Washington, and It was a resounding like, no, we don't care about the Washington Redskins.
because
It's fine. It doesn't matter.
that group never cares. Like, you're right, because it's like, oh, so you've erased everything else about us, or you're going to erase the one last thing that makes people remember we used to exist?
Right.
Thanks.
I feel like Mexicans are like that too.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know, people, the cultural appropriation, you know, of like sombreros or tacos or whatever it might be. Like, there was a PragerU video.
Lil Wit.
Lil Wit went around.
It's like, what do you think of my outfit? Oh, it's great. I love it.
Interviewed people on
No,
campus, said they was offensive.
He's wearing a sombrero.
And then went to some, like, you know,
I'll tell you
California district that's Mexican. They're like, oh, that's great.
Yep.
I love that.
The only people who care about this issue is Caucasian females.
Yeah.
Yes,
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
They're
telling you, man.
they're the like do-gooders around that are ruining everyone else's life.
And then the Caucasian males who feel this way are only doing it to get with those Caucasian females.
Yeah,
Because they're beta males.
Yeah.
yeah. Because right
That's
now, unfortunately, the average Caucasian male is basically just run by his wife or baby mom or whatever she is. And or just back to my same old thing. Like, that's why our civilization's like going down. Because white women who, I don't know, maybe they're the least capable of running anything, and in scale, are running everything.
Have you heard of I think she's a YouTuber. She goes by Just Pearly Things.
Oh yeah, she's
Yeah.
awesome.
They call her like the female Andrew Tate, basically.
Oh, okay.
I love her.
Wears shirts
Her
that says like,
demeanor's
women
like-
shouldn't vote.
I've seen
So
it.
of course Dom loves her.
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I like her. I like her a lot. Although I struggle with people like her on the right for one reason, and is that they're not always that smart.
Yeah.
Like, you listen to her, and you listen to a lot of her stuff, and she'll dabble into this, and then she's like, right now she's like she's fighting Christians, because Christians have a lot of just like dogmatic, dumb white knighty stuff
And
about
we've
us.
talked about how feminine the Western church is anyway.
Yeah, right. So we've bought into a lot of that, and so I guess she's raised Catholic, but she says she's Christian. When you hear her talking about it, it's like, you don't know anything about this.
it feels like she gets out over her skis frequently, but I appreciate that she's willing to deal with it.
Oh yeah.
That's what a lot of the Andrew Tate types do anyway.
Yes.
Is they overextend themselves. And it's like listening to Andrew Tate talk about religion is insufferable.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, buddy.
Yeah.
Calm down.
Yeah, because it's just like, you know, you have a shtick, and you can tell they have not spent much time on this other thing, but they
Yes.
want to like dive into it. And
But it's part of the world that they're in, right?
yeah. It's like she's fighting all the Christian women right now, and I think she has great points.
Yeah.
But then she'll say, okay, so then when Moses is getting everyone onto the ark, man, you know, it's like, I'm like, oh, just stop.
just
You don't know what you're talking about. Stop it.
And then you read Second Hesitations. And,
Thanks for joining us.
oh my goodness. She's all over the place, though. She's invited me to.
Yeah, I mean, she's found a great little niche,
Yeah.
and
Time for work.
Really well.
Yeah, I gotta go to
she's
work.
not wrong. Like, she's like dead on a lot of this stuff. The only problem with all the red pilly stuff is it typically comes from like a heavy, like, evolutionary theory background. So like everything is framed as like, you know, just like sexual encounter stuff, sexual marketplace crap, and that has its place. It's not like it doesn't exist, but like that's the framing for like everything.
Yeah.
And the Christians who would have the actual antidote for all this crap, we're actually probably as lefty as anybody right now. And if anyone doesn't, we like self-regulate by like, you know, you need to get back in line because Jesus would have been nice to that person.
Yeah.
Jesus would have painted his sandals rainbow to show solidarity. It's like, no, we wouldn't. Just,
You gotta be nice.
Did you guys watch the Super Bowl?
no, although friends told me I needed to watch the halftime show, so I did, and I
Okay.
enjoyed it.
Yeah.
That was Usher, right?
I sure
Kind of hasn't aged a day.
I know.
Nor Reba McEntire. It's like, what are you, like 40? this is crazy. She did a good job.
What in the world?
There was a commercial. I can't remember the group. It's some lefty Christian group, but it's like something about Jesus doesn't hate or whatever. And then it was a bunch of, it looked like AI generated collages of people washing each other's feet.
Oh.
But it was
They
like,
couldn't even get real people to do
it was
it.
like the guy with the KKK hood on washing some black guy's feet.
Oh, yeah.
And like, it wasn't that bad, but it was close.
I'm
you know?
sure that's-
And it was just like over and over. And then one of them, there's like a little sign off to the left that says "Clean Air Now," randomly just placed in
Clean
there.
air now.
Yeah, and then someone else washing someone's feet. And it's, I don't know. So the red pin guy, he's on YouTube. I've told you about him before. He's like a theology guy, but he kind of breaks down some of the just really crappy
Oh.
I probably know who
Christian arguments
you're
out there.
talking about.
Red pin theology or something. He'll sit there with his hat on. He's got a pin in his pocket, and then he'll watch something side by side, and then at the end he'll take his pin out and he'll start talking about how it's like in error.
That's interesting.
But he kind of broke it down, as did some others. But it was one of the commercials, and they dropped probably $7 million on that. I mean, where are you getting funding from? It's like,
The Super Bowl commercials.
RFK Jr., some super PAC out there did an ad for him. It was a replica of JFK's TV ad in the 60s, but they superimposed RFK's face. So I guess his family was pissed. And so he publicly apologized for that, because it wasn't his campaign that did it. It was some super PAC that did it. But it was like the old-timey, like, you know, music, and it looked kind of grainy. And it was really well done. $7 million. Yeah. But at the same time, he like pinned it to the top of his Twitter feed as well. So it's like, all right, if someone's going to spend $7 million on my campaign, you know, apologize to my family. A lot of his family hate him because he's kind of anti-vax, and you know, he's not what you would typically, you know, consider establishment Democrat.
I like him, I think.
I like about 70% of him,
Well, like, yeah,
and he's a huge climate
that's what my
guy.
I think means, right?
Yeah.
Like, he's not like, oh yeah, but
His book on
When you-
Anthony Fauci, spot on.
when you look at him versus like everyone else in his camp, you're like, wow, he's like kind of looks like one of the good guys.
Yeah, agreed. I could tolerate him over a lot of people in the field right now.
Like, I discovered him when I started looking into vaccines
Yeah.
pre-COVID because we were starting to have kids,
Yeah.
and found him, and I was like, huh, you know. So, I mean, as far as any other Democrat I could even think of, even like the nice old lady down the street,
Right.
like, I would vote for him
Yeah,
before
agreed.
any Democrat I've ever met in my life.
Totally agree. There's even some speculation about a Trump RFK Jr. ticket. It's like, wow, that would be wild.
That would be fascinating.
It'd be something.
That'd
People
be
struggle with
cool.
his voice because he has that. Oh, what's it
It would
called?
be tough to hear him speak a
Yeah, it's
lot
like paralyzed vocals, I think, because it's
because
it's a condition.
it just sounds painful.
Yeah, like you want to clear your throat for him.
Yeah. It sounds like someone's in there with like a rake doing this on his throat and just like, ugh. But, you know, I don't know.
One of the inspiring philosophy channel that I watch.
Yeah.
He's I think ex-military, but like does like, you know, philosophy and theology stuff on YouTube now. And when you watch his live streams, he has like chronic voice cracking. And he's probably, you know, like maybe 35, 36. And you're just hearing this guy talk, and every like sixth word his voice cracks. And for his YouTube videos, he'll take multiple takes of his lines to
Yeah,
get one
to
that doesn't
get
have
it
a
right.
voice crack in. But when he live streams, I'm like, oh, I feel bad for you, dude. Especially when he's like debating somebody.
And they
he's
actually
like,
have good
"About
stuff to
God."
say.
Yeah, exactly.
And it cracks.
It's like, that's unfortunate.
There's a business guy I listen to, and he's young too, he's our age. He's Australian, and he has a stutter, like bad. And like he struggles to get words out. And he's like brilliant. But you feel bad listening to him talk. But well, he's doing his thing, so whatever.
I don't really come across stutters much anymore.
No, that's interesting.
I don't know why that is.
I'd read a thing that a lot of, not that this is where it comes from, but that a lot of lefties that they would force to be right-handed would develop a stutter, which is kind of weird.
That's
But I'd read about that. And of course that's not done, hasn't been done in generations.
I used to literally think it was evil to be like left-handed. Like,
Yeah.
we have to break you of that. Like, that's like the devil. It's like, what?
But, I mean, there must be some
So then you're like
obscure...
messing with how your brain's wired, and you're forcibly trying to get someone to quit doing that. And maybe that would change your language center. I don't know. Yeah.
There's gotta be some obscure text in scripture that someone grabbed onto. Like, where did that come from?
Yeah. Super out of context.
Like, no one wants to sit on the left hand of God, so obviously the right is...
It was probably something. Right.
I know you were upset that you missed out on Chesterton last time, so I have
Oh.
this if we want to read another one.
G.K. Interesting. I don't hear about him that much. Unless you're in, like, specific circles and, like, that's all they talk about. So it's really interesting that you're into him. My wife's super into him.
Do you want to know the
That is
backstory
really-
behind this whole origin that we're doing now? Let's do it.
Yeah.
So, one of my favorite shows is Mystery Science Theater 3000. And
Is that even on anymore?
no,
anywhere?
well, I mean, there was a
YouTube,
revival
sure.
on Netflix where the original creator kind of brought it back with new people, and they did like a couple seasons. But
Yeah.
yeah, because there was 5 seasons of Joel as the human,
Yep.
who was the creator of the show, and then he stopped wanting to be involved with it, and so one of the head writers, Mike, became the human for the last 5 seasons. And so like the whole debate is like, are you a Joel guy or a Mike guy? But like I adored that show. There's a ton on YouTube. People will upload like their VHS copies and all that. And like my favorite comedy show, I love it so much. But I was on Wikipedia and I had looked up Mike Nelson, and discovered that he was a Christian, Republican, and was super into apologetics. Like, what's apologetics? So, and it said on the thing that he was really into C.S. Lewis and William Lane Craig.
Okay.
So it's like, okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
look into that, and then I discovered apologetics. And I'm like, where's this been my whole life?
It's so good.
It's so good. and so like I dived into Lewis, read Mere Christianity, all that, and then I looked into William Lane Craig, got into his apologetics, and fast forward a few years, I'm somehow like YouTube searching Mike Nelson for some reason, and up pops a video where he's on like a Google meeting call, hanging out with his friend Doug TeNapel, who made Earthworm Jim on the NES or the SNES or whatever, and also a Christian guy, and has made a bunch of graphic novels and stuff very similar to Earthworm Jim, very surreal, kind of silly animal bug stuff. And they're sitting down with Ethan Nicole, who made Axe Cop, worked at the Babylon Bee for a while, and now is like the showrunner or main guy that's making the Chinchilla show on Daily Wire. The kids, like, you know, show. So they're all just sitting there talking, and they're musing about this group that they used to have when they all lived in San Diego together called Chestertonians, where they would all meet up together, do this exact thing with a bunch of guys, drink, smoke, and they would all read Chesterton aloud. It was like a book club. And I heard that, and I'm like, I want that. I want that in my life. So I posted on Facebook, and I was like, I need this in my life. And Dan, the guy who was on last time, worked with Greg, was like, let's do it, let's meet up. So like I went over to his house probably like 20 times while he lived here. Greg came over a few times, and we did this same thing, and that's how it all began. But this was Ethan took his favorite Chesterton essays and like compiled it into this thing here. So yeah, that's the origin story
So good.
for all this.
So Chesterton essays, they're probably not copyrighted, right? So you could probably just recompile and publish your own stuff.
I think that's because he was writing this stuff in like the 1910s, 1920s,
Before all
30s.
that. So,
Yeah. So, but like he was he was also doing journalism, I think, on World War One. Like he was always writing stuff. So like he was in the culture, but also, you know, imbuing it with like.
He's all over. We have some little booklet, like they're for kids that are written by Chester. I should bring one that I have my kids read in the morning every once in a while.
Nice.
And they're like 2 pages long, so my son will just read it. And then,
That's one of the things I love about him, which you definitely learned this from the Tremendous Trifles essay we read last time, is he has such a like sense of wonder and like just gets so much joy and pleasure from just like taking a walk and looking at the world around him that God made. And like you know, as I get older and more grizzled, which, you know, stubborn and cantankerous, which I don't think is a terrible thing, but it's like I still want to maintain that sense of like wonder. I don't want to like lose it and become like jaded or something.
Right. Just be crotchety and not open to anything.
Exactly.
No new ideas.
So, but you want me to read another one?
Please.
yeah.
So we did Tremendous Trifles. The next one's called A Piece of Chalk, which this one I have read as well. So the cool thing about this is Ethan puts in his little like forewords about why he picked this one and put it in the book, gave some context, and then the essay, and he puts little footnotes at the bottom because like there's things that don't translate from 1910 to 2020 or whatever, so like he has to kind of give some context and whatever. But I'll go ahead and read this if you guys want to.
Let's do it.
All right. This is a piece of chalk from the Tremendous Trifles collection of essays, which was from 1909. So here's Ethan's foreword. It is possible that my Chesterton obsession began when I realized he was an illustrator, not just an illustrator, a cartoonist, like me for readers who don't know that. In this sense, he speaks my language in a way many authors do not. He went to school for art, and I believe dropped out. He was just too good at writing to ever really launch an art career, I guess. I love this essay because it is about making art, and it is very specific to the concept of drawing on neutral colored paper, like brown, and pulling out your highlights with white and filling in your shadows with black. It is a much more dynamic, and that's kind of that he made this as the cover. He illustrated that in the same way, where you're, you know, starting on a mid-tone and then adding highlights rather than relying on the pre-existing white of the page. It's a much more dynamic way of adding dimension to your sketches than simply drawing on white paper. But if you don't have white when drawing on brown paper, it is completely pointless. A black and brown drawing is like drawing in the dark. A big Chesterton theme in this essay is that the world is good. It has gone bad because of fallen man, but is the original creation of God's good work. Chesterton has many essays like this in Tremendous Trifles, where he depicts himself as this sort of wandering buffoon stumbling upon deep and meaningful truths after bumping into random things people usually pass right by. So here's the essay. I remember one splendid morning, all blue and silver in the summer holidays, when I reluctantly tore myself away from the task of doing nothing in particular, and put on a hat of some sort and picked up a walking stick, and put 6 very bright-colored chalks in my pocket. I then went into the kitchen, which along with the rest of the house belonged to a very square and sensible old woman in a Sussex village, and asked the owner and occupant of the kitchen if she had any brown paper. She had a great deal, in fact, she had too much, and she mistook the purpose and the rationale of the existence of brown paper. She seemed to have an idea that if a person wanted brown paper, he must be wanting to tie up parcels, which is the last thing I wanted to do. Indeed, it is a thing which I have found to be beyond my mental capacity. Hence, she dwelt very much on the varying qualities of toughness and endurance in the material. I explained to her that I only wanted to draw pictures on it, and I did not want them to endure in the least, and that from my point of view, therefore, it was a question not of tough consistency, but of responsive surface, a thing comparatively irrelevant in a parcel. When she understood that I wanted to draw, she offered to overwhelm me with notepaper, apparently supposing that I did my notes and correspondence on old brown paper wrappers from motives of economy. I then tried to explain the rather delicate logical shade that I not only liked brown paper, but liked the quality of brownness in paper, just as I liked the quality of brownness in October woods, or in beer, or in the peat streams of the north. Brown paper represents the primal twilight of the first toil of creation. And with a bright-colored chalk or two, you can pick out points of fire in it, sparks of gold and blood red and sea green, like the first fierce stars that sprang out of divine darkness. All this I said in an offhand way to the old woman, and I put the brown paper in my pocket along with the chalks and possibly other things. I suppose everyone must have reflected how primeval and how poetical things are the things that one carries in one's pocket. The pocket knife, for instance, the type of all human tools, the infant of the sword. Once I planned to write a book of poems entirely about the things in my pockets, but I found it would be too long, and the age of great epics is past. With my stick and my knife, my chalks and my brown paper, I went out into the Great Downs. Footnote, forgive me, but I was never really clear on what downs were because I'm an American. There are ridges of undulating chalk and limestone hills in southern England with few trees and used mainly for pasture. So there you go. I crawled across the colossal contours that express the best quality of England because they are at the same time soft and strong. The smoothness of them has the same meaning as the smoothness of great cart horses or the smoothness of the beech tree. It declares in the teeth of our timid and cruel theories that the mighty are merciful. As my eye swept the landscape was as kindly as any of its cottages. But for power, it was like an earthquake. The villages in the immense valley were safe, one could see, for centuries. Yet the lifting of the whole land was like the lifting of one enormous wave to wash them all away. I crossed one swell of living turf for another, looking for a place to sit down and draw. Do not, for heaven's sake, imagine I was going to sketch from nature. I was going to draw devils and seraphim and blind old gods that men worship before the dawn of right, and saints in robes of angry crimson and seas of strange green, and all the sacred or monstrous symbols that look so well in bright colors on brown paper. They are much better worth drawing than nature, and they also are much easier to draw. When a cow came slouching by in the field next to me, a mere artist might have drawn it, but I always get wrong in the hind legs of the quadrupeds. So I drew the soul of the cow, which I saw there plainly walking before me in the sunlight, and the soul was all purple and silver and had 7 horns and the mystery that belongs to all the beasts. But though I could not with a crayon get the best out of the landscape, it does not follow that the landscape was not getting the best out of me. And this, I think, is the mistake that people make about the old poets who lived before Wordsworth. There's a footnote on who that is. We're supposed to not care very much about nature because they did not describe it much. They preferred writing about great men to writing about great hills, but they sat on the great hills to write it. They gave out much less about nature, but they drank it in, perhaps much more. They painted the white robes of their holy virgins with the blinding snow at which they had stared at all day. They blazoned the shields of their paladins with the purple and gold of many heraldic sunsets. The greenness of 1,000 green leaves clustered into the live green figure of Robin Hood. The blueness of a score of forgotten skies became the blue robes of the Virgin. The inspiration went in like sunbeams and came out like Apollo. But as I sat scrawling these silly figures on the brown paper, it began to dawn on me, to my great disgust, that I had left one chalk, and that a most exquisite and essential chalk behind. I searched all my pockets, but could not find any white chalk. Now, those who are acquainted with all the philosophy, nay religion, which is typified in the art of drawing on brown paper, know that white is positive and essential. I cannot avoid remarking here upon a moral significance. One of the wise and awful truths which this brown paper art reveals is this, that white is a color. It's not a mere absence of color, it is a shining and affirmative thing, as fierce as red, as definite as black. When, so to speak, your pencil glows red hot, it draws roses. When it grows white hot, it draws stars. And one of the 2 or 3 defiant verities of the best of religious morality, of real Christianity, for example, is exactly the same thing. The chief assertion of religious morality is that white is a color. Virtue is not the absence of vices or the avoidance of moral dangers. Virtue is a vivid and separate thing, like pain or a particular smell. Mercy does not mean not being cruel or sparing people revenge or punishment. It means a plain and positive thing like the sun, which one has either seen or not seen. Chastity does not mean abstination from sexual wrong. It means something flaming, like Joan of Arc. In a word, God paints in many colors, but he never paints so gorgeously. I had almost so I had almost said so gaudily, as when he paints in white. In a sense, our age has realized this fact and expressed it in our solemn costume. For if it were really true that white was a blank and colorless thing, negative and non-committal, then white would be used instead of black and gray for the funeral dress of this pessimistic period. We should see city gentlemen in frock coats of spotless silver linen with top hats as white as wonderful arum lilies, which is not the case. Meanwhile, I could not find my chalk. I sat on the hill in a sort of despair. There was no town nearer than Chichester, which it was even remotely probable. The sentences are so long.
Yeah.
Remotely probable that there would be such a thing as an artist colorman. And yet, without white, my absurd little pictures would be as pointless as the world would be if there were no good people in it. I stared stupidly round, racking my brain for expedients. Then I suddenly stood up and roared with laughter again and again so that the cow stared at me and called a committee. Imagine a man in the Sahara regretting that he had no sand for his hourglass. Imagine a gentleman in mid-ocean wishing that he had brought some salt water with him for his chemical experiments. I was sitting on an immense warehouse of white chalk. The landscape was made entirely out of white chalk. White chalk was piled more miles until it met the sky. I stooped and broke off a piece of the rock I sat on. It did not mark so well as the shop chalks do, but it gave the effect. I stood there in a trance of pleasure, realizing that this southern England...
Do you
He
mind?
wanted to hear the last paragraph.
There he is.
I stood there in a trance of pleasure, realizing that this southern England is not only a grand peninsula, and a tradition and a civilization, it is something even more admirable. It is a piece of chalk.
Yes. To be able to write like that.
I know.
So good.
And he takes his time, like, literally the only thing that happened is he took a walk and sat down with some papers and just picked up a rock, basically, but...
It made you visualize 1,000 different things. So.
I love the way he's able to kind of like paint, like he really zeroes in on God's creation and all of the good in it, which I think is so easy for so many of us to just completely overlook.
Yeah. That's cool.
Thanks for humoring me.
That was great. My wife watched this episode just for that ending.
Has to sit through all the sports stuff.
I'll tell her you don't know where it is. It's somewhere.
gotta find it in there.
Oh. It's a 3-hour commitment, but it's worth it.
I'm always willing to have, if anyone wants to bring anything to read, because you had done that with a Mike Heiser paragraph at one point.
Yeah, that was fun. We did that a couple Halloweens ago, right out of his Demons book.
Yeah,
Which
it was
is
like-
actually one of his better books.
It's like our second or third video.
Yeah, we got a little heavy, but it was good.
If there's ever anything that you want to bring to read, go
I
for
will.
it.
Every once in a while you stumble across something that's brilliant.
Yeah.
And like this is one of those venues where like we're all here to be patient and sit around, whereas like the only other time you can really get this is like Bible study.
You know what I should do? It's not read, but 2 nights ago or whatever, we got the kids in bed and we're sitting on the couch, you know. I'm scrolling, she's scrolling, right? And my wife's like, oh, you know, this something, whatever. She's like, you should listen to this little girl singing or whatever. And you ever heard the song Voila? V-I-O-L-A, French, right? But I listened. It was a 10-year-old girl, and then I spent the next like 2 hours looking up like every version of this song I could find because it haunted me, and I was obsessed with it.
Interesting.
And I even sent it to like a couple of my musician buddies at like 11 at night. I was like, you have to listen to this. And of course they're like, oh, cool, good, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, oh my goodness, like the music. And I don't even know what she's saying, because it's in French.
You know how old this song is?
This recording is, I don't know how old the song is. I mean, I can send it to you or something. Or dare play it,
You
but
could just sing it for us.
yeah. No, it's
I'll pitch you up an octave so it sounds right.
I don't know if it'd have the same effect on you, but like, and of course it's late, you know, so I was like, I cannot stop hearing this in my head.
Interesting.
And I went and plunked it out on the piano, even like the basics of it. It was so good to me.
Yeah.
But
I have that happen every now and then. A song that just like kind of pierces through, and you're like, man, this is something else.
Yeah, you should send it to our group.
I'll find it. You can play it on the next one if you like it or something.
And honestly, like, is it like a pop song or like a traditional?
No, it's a traditional sounding song.
Okay. The French have always been great at music.
It's so good. Where the heck? It says voila, and Andre Rieu, Johann Strauss Orchestra, Emma Koch is I think the singer. But it's
So it's like an operatic piece, or like a
yeah. Whoa. No. Okay. Can't just jump in halfway. It sounds like this.
All right.
Moi la chanteuse à demi parler de moi, à vos amours, à vos amis, parlez-le de ces filles si noires et de sourires fous. Ce que je veux, c'est écrire des histoires qui arrivent jusqu'à vous, c'est tout. Voilà, 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 voilà qui je suis. Mais voilà mes messieurs, mes années je meurs. Oui, mais voilà tout le bruit et tout le silence. Regardez-moi, aidez-moi ce qu'il reste. Regardez-moi. Avant que je me déteste, crois-vous dire que les lèvres maintenant ne vous diront pas. C'est quelque chose, mais moi, tout ce que je l'ai déposé là. Voilà. Voilà, 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 voilà qui je suis. Mais voilà mes messieurs, mes amis, c'est fini. Ce n'est que c'est mon cri, et vous voilà tant pis. Voilà, 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 voilà jusqu'ici. Mon oreille, mon vie, comme je crève, comme j'aurai. Mais voilà tout le bruit. Et tout le silence. Ne partez pas. Je veux ce qui restait longtemps. Ça me saurait pas, non. Me faire se foucher pas comme nous. Aimez-moi comme on peut aimer, qui s'en va pour toujours.
He wants to hear.
Je fais quand même, parce que moi je sais pas m'aimer contour.
Remind me again how you heard this?
My wife found it on TikTok,
Okay.
and then I looked it up on maybe not your thing, but
No, I like not to get like all music theory nerdy, but
oh yeah,
very like common chord progression, right?
yeah,
But like
it's really easy.
I always admire when someone can come up with a really nice melody over the top of like common chords, because that's really hard to do.
Yeah, I really liked it, but I think the girl singing is supposed to be 10.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a surprisingly like deep voice.
Yeah. So in this, you can hear the youngness, the BD thing, or whatever. But no, because the conductor had this like, she has like a something like her stomach is paralyzed or something, and she has to have like a feeding tube or something. Like there's a bunch of stuff wrong with her. which made it really significant that she was like doing this. But anyway, yeah, I like that.
That's very cool. Anything in French, like it's romantic language.
I know.
It just sounds so good.
It's such a good language
You
for.
don't even need to know what she's saying. It's just like, yeah, it just seems profound.
Yeah,
That's cool.
He's got really great projection.
French is so interesting because they're actually really great people, and of say like the last 100 years, they've been considered like they're like a joke or something.
Right.
Weird.
When we went to Paris a couple years ago, Nora wanted to go to France. We went to Germany and then we took a train down to France, and like very enjoyable people. Like all the stereotypes that you hear about the French, you know, hate Americans and they're snobs and all the things. It's like we had a great experience.
It might be a little bit of a left turn, but there's a French song that I really liked that I found a few years ago. It is more of like a pop song from like the 60s. So this is Francois Hardy, and this is from 1962.
Ooh.
But like, I think the thing that I like about French music, and even going all the way back to like the impressionistic composers like Debussy and all of them, is they're able to like portray like beauty, but also with like a very human fragility, and there's a nice contrast in there where it's not like so sugary or so down. It's a nice mid ground. But this is a song. We'll just play a little bit of it. But I did the same kind of thing with this.
Les garçons et les filles de mon âge se promènent dans la rue de Bordeaux.
I love it. And so you hear the
Les
time
garçons et
Yeah.
les filles de mon âge savent bien ce que c'est qu'être heureux.
even across the
Et
ocean.
les yeux dans les yeux, et la main dans la main, ils s'en vont.
This is what a lot of their music sounded like in the 60s. Like they weren't pulling a ton from like the Beatles or anything. They're just kind of doing their own stuff like this.
Par les rues, l'âme en peine, oui mais moi,
I can eat this stuff up for breakfast.
Super simple, but
Yeah.
nice to listen to.
Well, because this is almost like 50s American music before the Beatles.
Yeah. But really dig that. Yeah, I like most of the art from France. I think they're, I wouldn't say overlooked, but just kind of underappreciated a little bit.
Did you ever listen to Sergio Mendes? It's
name sounds
Afro-Latin jazz from Brazil, but often they mix a lot of French stuff in, and I used to be into that in like college.
I'm really into like the bossa nova Brazil jazz stuff.
Yeah, no, that's
Like even like Girl from Ipanema, which is like, you know, the elevator music and stuff. Like I love that sound.
it's that stuff. Yeah, you should look that.
What's his name?
Sergio Mendes.
Sergio Mendes. There he is.
And they've got some like old school stuff, and then they've got a lot of like collaboration stuff that's like newer with like I found stuff with like
He did a version of
Q-Tip
Mascanada.
and Common and John Legend and like stuff.
Wow. He has an album called Pure Bossa Nova. Look at that.
There you go.
That's my guy. Herb Alpert as well. Oh, and he did an album with Jobim, who's also a really great bossa nova artist.
Yeah, I figured you'll probably like that stuff.
I could tell you I'd probably enjoy his stuff a lot.
It's definitely a lot of that.
Yeah, I love this stuff, man.
my kids call it daddy cooking music. Because when I, like, on a weekend when I'm just, like, feeling good and I'm like, I'm cooking dinner tonight, I'll blast this stuff and my wife just, like, rolls her eyes. And, like, dance with the kids, like, between stirring stuff or whatever.
Have you heard of Jorge Ben?
No.
Jorge Ben. So, you might recognize this song. It's not this version, but this song was in Joe versus the Volcano, right?
Shoot. Sucks that they've probably been two already. Oh, this is... I can't hear this without thinking Austin Powers.
Sure, yeah. But Sergio Mendes, the top song was a cover of this one. This is like the...
It's great stuff, man.
Glad you could join us though, man.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to only be here for like an hour, but you stayed like...
Well, midday's better because, like, everyone thinks I'm working.
Instead, you come here and you talk about,
course-
how can I work better?
I didn't even tell Felicia I was coming here. And I saw, like, an hour ago she texted me and said, how are you? So just now, I said, great, you. And she says, so you're doing a podcast? Come on.
Sees right through you.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent.
It's great.
Love it.
No, that's good. No,
I mean, we can, if we want, we can just call it. We're at like 2 hours, 40 minutes.
Well, you don't have to.
It feels natural.
That's fine.
I haven't heard this version, though.
Yeah, Jorge Ben is awesome, man. If you like the Sergio Mendes stuff, you check out Jorge, I'll check out Sergio.
Yes.
How about that?
Yes, I will.
Yeah.
Jorge. I need it in my, like, searched whatevers.
I will copy.
Or send me.
Yeah, I'll just go to share on this
Something.
song and then send it in the chat. We gotta expand our the dad cooking is awesome, man. I love that.
Yep. Daddy cooking. That's my playlist. It's called, well, it's cooking music, but they call it daddy cooking music.
You've inspired me. I've got to make a playlist now.
I do like themed stuff. Like I play like over the top, almost Gregorian chant choral music like on Sundays. So, like, get up. And then that's
It's supposed to be reverent.
Yeah. Just like way over the top stuff.
Fantastic.
Anyway. All right, cool. Fun.
All right, sir. Enjoyed
Anything
it.
in? Or are we
No, we're good.
good? Or?
We'll get back up.